Thursday night, I'll tell you, we switched the show a while ago now. We switched the show a while ago from Fridays to Thursday. And I don't know, shout out to Eric, the producer. I know he's listening to the show. He's the producer. And, he says to me, Mooch, I can't believe all this news breaks on CrossFire Thursday. So, Thursdays used to be like that hold position. And then Fridays used to be booming. Thursdays are insane. You got game releases, midnight. I think we got Battlefield 6 tonight. Of course, we're going to be talking a little bit about that. We're going to start the games discussion, which shout out to the great Nib, by the way. He says to me, Mooch, before we get into the topics, we got to talk about some games. I said, absolutely. There's just too many games out there to not talk about games. But nonetheless, before we get to that, take a look at that outstanding panel that's here for you. Also, a special guest here. Haven't had him on the show in a while. Great to have him back. We're going to get into the great Eric Jackson joining us again. And it's up to you guys in the chat to just let Eric know just how much he's missed and how much we got to have him back on more often. But that being said, guys, look at that fantastic description down there. If you look at that, that's at least an A- in about 10th grade English. Right above, that's the join button. And if you would join the Mooch Manic family members, I would truly appreciate it. It really helps the channel. It goes a long way. And hit that like button. That goes even further. Nonetheless. And I'm glad I actually did that right this week. Last week, I had an outstanding intro. And I was muted. So you know what? Even when you're a pro, you've been doing it for a long time, you still make a mistake. It's okay. It's all right. It's great. Nonetheless, we're going to get to everybody that's on the panel right now. I will start with the one and only. You guys know him as Crap Gamer. Crap used to show up at like 10 after 7. The problem is now I don't start till 10 after 7. So where Crap used to be 10 minutes late. Crap, now you're on time. Crap, this is crazy. It's my fault. Yeah. It's my fault.
I also noticed that your podcast goes like 4 hours sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know what Crap. It's fun. I'm glad Crap brought that up. So it's funny because Nib's here and Death Singer, shout out to Wooly Gamer as well. These guys can talk, boy. I'll tell you, these guys are fantastic guys. Yeah. These guys were built to podcast. But we had made this unwritten rule. Remember, Crap, it was like maybe like 2016 when these were happening. We were going 4 hours back in the day. And then we go, I think all of us were like, we got to keep this between 2 and 3. And now we're back to 4. But it's not just us. Everyone's back to 3.5 and 4 hours.
I got old, man. My back can't handle that 4 hour stuff.
We got old. We did get old.
This is like crazy.
You need a better chair, dude. You need an ergo chair.
You know what I got? Crap, you say chair, and Nib, you said get a better chair. You know what I ended up doing? I ended up getting one of those.
I got a new one, it's still not great.
Crap, you know what helped? And I'll tell you, I don't use it all the time, but I got a stand-up desk. So I actually can podcast and stand. It just helps you stand up because if you sit down for 3.5 hours, it's painful.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. What's a podcast desk? As in what is it? Like goes around your waist or something?
No, it's a stand-up. It's a stand-up desk.
It stands up, yeah.
It's not around the waist.
On the fly.
Yeah, but you push a button and the desk goes up and and the microphone. You do wire and cable management. So that the actual desk goes up with you. I podcast
lying on my ass on the sofa, laying back, playing games.
Yeah, Nib. Let me tell you something, okay? And I've been a host for a long time. I've been a guest a bunch of times. Being a guest is great. It's outstanding. You can have a ball game on. You can be playing a video game. You can be eating dinner. Yeah, it's so much easier being a guest. I feel, anyways. I'm sure other people go, I don't feel that way, Mooch. That's fine. I always felt that way. When people are like, hey, you're going to come on. Shout out to the great Blaze 4K. When I was over on Solidcast, I love it because I'm on there. I'm having a grand old time. He's talking to the rest of the panel. I can do whatever I want to do. It's great to be a guest. Nonetheless, I will say this. Great to have Crap here. Speaking of great, Nib is back with us. Nib, I saw just before we went live, you went ahead and posted, which I'm glad you did, by the way. You said, this was May 24, and we said this a long time ago. And if you go back further on the Crossfire, you'll see we were saying it back in 2021. We've been saying that media consumption is different. It's not the same for gaming. But Nib, welcome to the show, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Yeah, not too bad. I am trying to squeeze in the last of the Yote and podcasting I can because I've got a stag do to go to tomorrow. It's like we got a big ass minivan. Yeah,
I lucked out, Nib, because last time you had one of those, it was on Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it should be fun, but it's going to be weird, like being a hermit. Staying on my ass playing games and just doing the odd bit of work on my laptop to going out and go crazy and being too old for what these young guys do these days, basically.
Yeah, tell me about it, buddy. I hear we're talking about that with podcasting for sitting too long, so I hear you, buddy. Believe me. Shout out to the great Nib who's with us. And, of course, the great Death Singer. Death Singer, I see you were out there on Thursdays is when you light your match and you throw it right out into X and you wait for that gas to catch fire, and we're here for Crossfire, buddy. So great to have you, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing great. I mean, shout out to some of the so-called, everyone all of a sudden has become a hardware wizard.
That's
Ever
right.
since news of this PS6 came out, and it's like we already came to the conclusion. Please stop talking about shit you don't understand, because it's like I'll get into it when it comes around to it, but it's like
you've had it, that singer, yes.
So you need to slow your roll and just let things play out.
You guys heard it here first. Death Singer has had it up to here, and he's just not going to take it anymore. You're going to hear about it when we get to that topic. Believe me, you're going to hear about it. He's got a lot to say. Shout out to Death Singer. Great to have him here. And our guests that are with us, the great Mag is with us. Mag, outstanding as always to have you, buddy. You listen. We know you work very hard, right, for a living, and then you come back, and then you do what is it? Is it the DNC you do on Mondays, and you do Mag show, and then you're doing gaming with Mag and the family, and then you get the cooking show, and now you're thinking about starting another one. Buddy, honestly, I love what you're doing, and I got to be honest with you. I don't know how you got the energy to do it, but I want to say this. Please don't stop. Mag, great to have you back, buddy. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing awesome, man. And of course, I'm doing guest spots on top of all that.
Right.
So, no, I'm working hard on the channel. It's growing. It's growing quickly. It's doing very well. And I'm very happy about that. But yeah, we put in the work. The maggots are there to support me as always. Magcast is growing exponentially. And it's getting pretty wild, man. I mean, Tuesday night I did Magcast. I ended up going for 4.5 hours solo.
God.
It was unbelievable. It was probably the most epic marathon I ever been through. And of course, I broke channel numbers with that as well. So it's all been going great. We got a lot to talk about. I mean, it also helps that there's always news going on right now.
There is.
And the funny thing is, when we should be talking about games, we're talking about everything but games. And it's totally wild to me with all this cadence of incredible AAA games that we're getting right now that's the last thing that everybody seems to be talking about. And it's just mind-blowing to me, man. It's just a whole different scene going on. But anyways, we got a lot of topics. We got a lot of things to talk about. And by the way, don't even ask me about the PS6 thing. Death Singer's 100% right. I have no idea what happened in that video. What's his name? Dana Carvey there?
Yes,
when
Dana.
He was talking... Like Bob Ross, by the way. That's the other thing. He's Dana Carvey, the church lady, and Bob Ross all in one.
All in one, yes.
I mean, did you hear him?
Yes.
We're gonna put a couple dainty threads inside that hardware there.
He sounds like the guy from Family Guy too, with the mustache. He goes,
and then we're gonna put some shaders in there as well.
Yes,
right? We're gonna put a fun little shader right over here.
Yeah.
And we're gonna put it right next to this tree.
And I'm sitting there listening to this guy go, what is this guy talking about? I had no idea what was going on. The other guy could barely speak English. And I'm like, you know what? Forget it. Let Death Singer and everybody else talk about the hardware. I'm just gonna say I suspect it's coming out in 2027.
If your podcasting stuff doesn't work out or whatever career you do, those phone line, they whatever,
they don't even do that anymore, Nib.
Like in the Yakuza game, when you ring those hotlines and they...
I'll do that too, man. Hey, whatever it takes.
Mag, you got a lot of contacts out there. Let them know that me and you, we can do voice doubles, voice overs. We can do voice for video game characters. And because we sound alike, we can even work every other day.
That's right. You
Okay?
can call in sick,
Talk
and
to
I'll
some
take over for
people.
you. I'll call in sick, go out with the family,
That's
then you
right.
take over the next day. It's perfect.
That's right.
Let's get into this show.
We
got
do it.
things to talk about,
Well,
folks.
not just that, but we also got the great Eric Jackson, which, by the way, so me and Eric, being on PlayStation, and I see him on there all the time. We write back and forth. And I said, Eric, it'd be great to get you back on here. He left social media, which, by the way, he's probably healthier. I would say he's taller, but he's already 6'7". I got to tell you, he's probably feeling better. Food tastes better. Water tastes better. The air is fresher, Eric, now that you left all that nonsense. But I got to say, it is outstanding that you came back to CrossFire, buddy. And I got to be honest with you, you kind of picked a really good week to come back. There's a lot of things going on. And I know you still have your ear to the ground. So, Eric, how you been, buddy?
Yeah, I kind of saw that, man. Like the news keeps flowing. And I'm like, whoa, yeah, this is definitely a good week. But yeah, health wise, man, can't complain. Still 6'7", down about 40 pounds.
See, that's leaving social media will do that to you.
Yeah. So definitely kind of like jumped off just to kind of recenter. It was just like a lot of negativity in a lot of ways, but just keeping in touch with the people that meant the most. While I was there.
Well, I appreciate that.
There are days that I miss. I definitely missed the Randy Pickford meltdown.
Yes.
But I heard all about it. So.
Oh yeah, you missed Death Singer's rant on that. That was.
Yeah.
He went in on him.
But I'm definitely keeping up with things, man. I still watch CrossFire and different pods and keep up with stuff. But yeah.
Well, great to have you, Eric. And it's CrossFire, so just jump in whenever you want to talk, buddy. And of course, Brap is with us. That's where I actually got a chance to meet Eric, was through Brap, Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. Brap, a.k.a. Coach. He's out there right now. Brap, are you over at Meadowland Field by any chance? Are you over there at Giant Stadium helping out? Or is that where you are on location?
Yeah, I'm trying to help Jackson Dart here a bit in the offensive line.
Please.
And, I'm not having much luck. But it's great to be here. Like, it's a little cold outside right now, but I'm here.
Well, listen, we can use all the help we can get. So let Scatterbo know that we could use him up in the front there and block a little bit. Give him a little room there for Jackson to run through. So I appreciate you out there, Coach. And speaking of great to have, also met through Brap, the great Gamer Logic is with us too tonight. And Gamer Logic was on the show. God, it hasn't been almost 3 years ago or 2 years ago, but great to have Gamer Logic back. Logic, you've been literally on fire on X, and I hate to put you on the hot seat the minute you got here because you just came into the room. But Logic, great to have you on the show again. And like I said, you're really you're really gaining traction over there on X, which is fantastic. I love what you're putting down. I'm reading every single bit of it. You're giving Nib a run for his money. I'll tell you that much. Shout out to Logic. Logic, how you doing tonight? I didn't even get a chance to do a microphone check with him. See if Logic, are you here yet? He's here, but I don't see him muted, or I don't see Discord making any moves. But what we'll do is, Logic, when you're all set up, just chime in. Nib, I'm going to go to you on this recommendation, Nib. You've got more Ghost of Yotei footage online than PlayStation or actually Sucker Punch themselves. So what I'm wondering, Nib, is what do you think in the game? I know that you're far into it. I don't know if you're far as main bosses, as far as the Yotei 6, but I mean, as far as where you are, and what's your overall consensus? And then I want to hear what the panel says before we get into the meat and potatoes of our topics.
Yeah, so like I've done a ton of the game, just not like the main bosses.
Right.
So I've been like going region to region, collecting everything up, doing all the side stuff, doing bounties, doing side quests, getting all the legendary like armors and weapons and things like that. Kind of because I feel kind of need to if you're playing on lethal or hard, because it's, I would say, significantly harder than the previous game. In fact, like I dabbled in the older game a little bit just to get my bearings. I was going to do like a tweet and a video comparison, but in the end I couldn't be bothered. But it is very different. Like what I think I've seen some talk about how similar, obviously sequels are iterative in nature anyway, especially only the second game in a franchise. I don't know why people are expecting this to be some bold reinvention when it's literally the second title. But it is actually more significant of a difference to Ghost of Tsushima when you get into the granular nuances of things. And it's the finer details, like little things like, obviously you have different weapons in this instead of different stances.
Which I actually like, Nib. I want to just say that. I prefer it over the stances, and I think I'm in the minority there, but I do.
No, me too. And what I would say is, like, because they are fundamentally different weapons, they have entire new kind of animation set, tempo, move sets, and the way they react and interact to other enemies and things like that. And even that minor thing has such a significant difference because there's so much of a timing and parry and dodge and move set dynamism between the different weapons. So already that mixes things up a lot. And Ghost of Tsushima, when you go back, it's much safer and easier. Even the AI is so much less aggressive. So even on lethal, they do that kind of kung fu thing where like they wait around inordinate amounts of time and really give you the space to be on them, basically. And then one by one, they'll go in and you do your parry or whatever. Even the parry windows and timings are much give more leeway, basically, compared to Yotei. Some of the enemies, I feel like the parry windows, again, on the harder difficulties, are exceptionally slim, like super slim. It's really quite challenging. And in that sense, like, I am loving the game. And I also think this is more of a gamer's game. I was saying, like, on Brap's podcast yesterday, I really enjoyed Ghost of Tsushima, but I wasn't enamored with it the way that a lot of people were. Because to me, even on lethal, I did think it was a bit easy, and I actually switched it down to hard because it was harder on hard than it was lethal. On lethal, you just did too much damage, basically. So once you kind of got the flow of things, you could just dominate.
Yeah, because the way that they work it, for those that don't know, Nib, is you inflict more damage, but on lethal you also absorb more damage.
Yeah. So that, and I thought the side quest diversity was worse. Like there wasn't as emergent gameplay. Just as you're exploring, it was more like the same kind of things repeated over again. Like, here's your freaking 10th bandit camp, and here's follow the fox for the 7th time in a row, and so there wasn't as much mixing things up. Whereas here, it's a constant flow of very, very different types of things, with more mechanics, with more dual sense implementation, with more storyline, with more backstory, with more characterization, all these things. And I think all of that, don't get me wrong, it's not like I wouldn't say some of the side quests are as fleshed out as, say, a Witcher 3 or a God of War,
right.
Or Red Dead necessarily, but there's a lot more of them, and still, like, rather than that like classic RPG thing where you go into a town and they'll give you like 50 different side quests and you just have a checklist all in your menu. It's not like that. This is kind of like, as you're walking around, you'll notice something interesting that catches your eye. It'll be a cool little story plot line. You finish it, then you see something else in the distance. So it's more like kind of like a Breath of the Wildy and Elden Ring type of vibe to the flow of how the world works.
I would say the flow. I'm sure an Elden Ring fan will disagree with this, but I do know what you mean by the flow and the way that the actual map is laid out, where you have that freedom to go. When the story stops progressing you and you don't deliberately go to the next, I just roam the world, and when I find them, I find different camps to encounter. I take, there's the bamboo shoots, there's the wolf dens, and you just stumble upon them, and it's very, in that essence, I do feel it's like the caves and the situations that you run into in Elden Ring. So it's that very open, and the game doesn't force you there,
Like I was saying yesterday, again, like even just before I went on to Brad's podcast, like I was playing, and one thing led to another. I came across a pillar, and the pillar had a sword kit that I wanted, and then there was these heavy armored dudes on like horsebacks, and they said they want to catch me and make an example of me. They were like elite enemies, they weren't regular enemies. So they like kicked my ass and they captured me and took me to this camp, and I had to escape from the camp. Then I wanted to go back to the sword kit. I was trying to figure out where it was. And in the distance, I spotted like a hole in a cave. I went to the cave. Some lady was giving birth, and all this other stuff. Like, they named their kid after me, and I had to protect them from bandits. And then I went back, and so all
I just
this
did that one last night.
So that was cool. It's really dynamic. And then so there's that. I think like the granularity, the competency of the gameplay, the difficulty, the challenge, the animations, movesets, how aggressive the AI is, the bosses, the story, the characters. I think all of that side quest diversity is an improvement over the original. And also, I think like from a technical level, it may not be like I wouldn't say like it's on the level of like a Death Stranding 2 or Horizon Forbidden West, but it does do many things that those games don't do. So it's a more artistic, dynamic, and living, breathing world where everything is kind of like designed to encapsulate the themes of the game rather than just blow your eyeballs out. Like, it's not just pure realism, it's more like for the artistic intent.
Well, I have two questions here. One's from Babor. Shout out to Babor Country. The show can start now. Thank you for that super chat. Shout out also to El Nini for the $10 super chat. I appreciate that. He didn't put a comment in there, but I want to say thanks, El Nini. Here every week. I really appreciate it. But Babor says some reviews, like IGN, Skill Up, are disingenuous, he says. Someone on the panel explain Elden Ring story. Differences in gameplay with PS3 Demon Souls. So I know of the situation that Babor is talking about, but I do not know the exact correlation that I think he's referring to. So I don't know if it was IGN or it was Skill Up. Somebody said something about Elden Ring as well. I see the Elden Ring as far as the landscape and the open possibilities I think that's where you were going.
I get the feeling that Skill Up, right? He just doesn't like female-orientated revenge tales, because he was also really down on Last of Us 2, which to me has a phenomenal story. So, like, obviously, if you're in that camp, fine. But, like, to me, and I think Brap agreed as well, the story and Atsu as a character, to me, is superior to Jin and his tale. That there's more, like, emotion. There's more peaks and valleys.
There is a lot more emotion to it. It is, no spoilers here, but it is, I mean, you learn this in the first 5 minutes of the game. It is very much a family, a revenge story. I think if you've liked even any mafia games, you know what I mean, where something happens.
Yeah.
Look at like what Vito Corleone went through. Not to make the same correlation, but you know what I'm saying. Like, so they were like, well, why was the Don going to go after Vito when he was a kid down in Sicily? And it was because if they didn't, he would come after me for revenge. So this was a situation where the child got away and did in fact come back for revenge. And I mean, that definitely, I do think it had a little bit more of a story, and it does kind of tug at the heartstrings a little bit more than maybe Jin's story. But again, it's so funny because I always feel like when something new comes out, a lot of people will always kind of, short-term memory and forget the past. Jin's story was great. I do feel like this one here, it hits a little bit more home for more gamers across the board. I do. I agree with that. Eric, do you agree with that situation and see where the Elden Ring kind of, the world itself kind of comes into play, where people are saying those are some similarities?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you guys like on that. And, hats off to Sucker Punch, because I said the same thing about Tsushima is they have the way that they decided to do their map. I think more developers should pick up on when they do like an open world game where it doesn't just look like a bunch of stuff vomited on the map.
Thank you.
A bunch of icons, go to here, go to there.
We're speaking to you. We're speaking to you, Ubisoft. Go ahead, Eric, please.
Oh my God, yeah, like for real, man. In this day and age, I feel like anxiety when I open up like the map on some of these games, and it's like
So true.
question marks here. There's like just go wherever, blah, here it is for you. And I'm like, nah. So I like the way this like ebbs and flows. And Nib mentioning like that mission last night, I came upon that like organically because I was just riding around the map.
Yep.
Like I haven't really been hitting tons of waypoints. Like, all right, well, take me here unless there's something deliberate that I want to do. I'm just kind of been letting the map kind of guide me around different areas and finding things organically. And
Absolutely.
That's a really beautiful way to handle like your open world, so, and that's definitely them picking up and continuing on from what they did in Tsushima. Like Tsushima's map never made me feel any moment of anxiety just looking at it, like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
And when I say anxiety, I'm being hyperbolic. Obviously, it's not, it's just that thing that you look at, you're like, God damn, I got so much to do here. This is crazy.
Yeah.
So no, I definitely agree with that vibe of like that Elden Ring of discovery,
yeah,
type of thing. But actually as a character, I definitely, I didn't have anything against Jin. I know some people felt, Jin was boring, and some people feel Aloy is boring, and all these different. It depends on what what you consider stoic or what you consider boring, right? But where she's concerned is definitely got that. I think she's definitely off the rip, like a little bit more interesting because it's a revenge story. We've seen that before, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I kind of look at it like that. And it's about how you want to tell that revenge story. And I think kind of like her vibe around the whole thing is definitely like a little bit of Ronin, a little bit of that, that wanderer. And I think that's like really cool, where Jin was more about like tradition and fighting, that inner demon within himself of, I've been taught to be a certain way, to be very, measured, and as being a samurai, it goes against my code to become like this ghost, this ninja, to do what I'm doing. But that's the pull that I have. So, which is also interesting. But for her, it's just very much, I've been to these battles. I'm sort of Ronin-like. I'll help people when I need to, but I have a mission at hand to avenge what happened to like my mother and father and my family.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I do agree. And if anyone wants to chime in on their experience on this, T-Rock 40 says, shout out to T-Rock. He says, AC Shadows map is much improved over old AC games. That's true, T-Rock, but it's still, to me personally, it still became a lot of clutter as you progress through. But don't get me wrong, it's not to say that it was bad.
I actually disagree with that.
You disagree with it? I
disagree with it.
Why do you?
I'll tell you why.
Please.
Initially, I would have agreed with him, but the further and further you get into AC Shadows, and it's so interesting comparing it to Yote directly. I know people don't like comparisons, but fuck yourself. It's interesting to do. So when you play Yote, like the thing the environment is constantly working against you. So what I mean by that is like you'll see something interesting, and you're trying to climb up, and you're just sliding down like every few seconds, right? The cadence of hills and stuff is just frustrating. So then you've got to work around it. Or like there'll be masses of bushes and stuff that you're walking through, and you can't see diddly squat. Like literally you'll go through entire fields of bushes, and it's just like all you see is a screen filled with bushes and noise and parts of geometry that just gets in your way or stops you or whatever. So there are these kind of like micro frustrations which you don't really think of at the time, but until you play something that is more fluid. I've never had that in Ghost of Yotei. Like like 50 hours I've got in the game, and everything is just seamless and fluid. If I want to get somewhere, if I want to horse ride through a forest or whatever, or something gets in my way, I jump over it. Everything is really fluid. Literally, the only like hurdles in the way is like if it's something too high, the horse won't jump. It will like stop, and you'll have to climb down, which is fine, right? But then in AC Shadows, constantly things in the, not necessarily in the towns and stuff, because it's cool that you can break down walls and things like that. That was cool. But out in the open, yeah, like I said, hurdles galore.
Hurdles galore, and yeah, very, very similar to almost the feeling like Death Stranding, where if your like pinky toe touched a rock, everything came to a complete halt. Shout out to Babori.
Yeah, the difference is in Death Stranding, it's part of the gameplay mechanic, right? You're supposed to use your tools and stuff. But that is not. Yes,
not a fair comparison on my point. So I know there's a lot of Death Stranding fans out there that get mad at that one, and I love Death Stranding, but I'm just trying to say like that. It does gets a little bit annoying. I understand that's the way the game is designed. Babor says reviews hype Elden Ring to death during lockdown before they played it, but same outlets want to insult our intelligence. PlayStation's Alloy an outcast. That's why she's deliberately awkward and talks to herself. Babor, I think Babor's. I think he's a narrative writer for video games. Is what I think. I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea.
I'll conclude with this final thing, right?
Shout out to Babor, by the way.
Despite all the controversy you've heard online or whatever, right? If you're like a gamer's gamer and you like a challenge, you like mechanical competency and like precision, because I would say Ghost of Yotei on the harder difficulties, I have no idea about normal and easy. I haven't touched it, nor do I intend to. It's actually closer than, let's say, like a Zelda or Assassin's Creed Shadows or those kind of action-adventure games. I would say it actually feels more like, even though it has that vibe and it is an action-adventure, in terms of difficulty and competency and stuff and bosses and things like that, it's closer to like a Soulsborne game or like a Neo or something. That's how much mastery it requires of you. So if you like that kind of game as well, and you want something that shows off the sort of features of your console, and I don't just mean visually, I mean every single aspect of sound design, of DualSense implementation. This is like arguably the best DualSense implementation there is, alongside Astrobot. I don't think there's anything better.
I was going to say this is probably right there after Astrobot. But to clarify real quick, Nib, because you gave an example, but shout out to T-Rock. T-Rock says here, he goes, hold on a second. He goes, is English hard? He goes, I mean the map, not the environment. So I think what he was trying to say was when we were saying that the map gets so convoluted, in AC games, he was feeling, and now T-Rock, you're probably going to yell at me and go, Mooch, that's not what I mean either. But he says AC Shadow's map is much improved over old AC games. And it in fact was T-Rock. But I do think that the flow of the environment is not what you were talking about. He just means the map being too congested. Too congested. Okay. Yeah. That they did fix, I think, in AC Shadows. But I still like the way that the map is presented in Ghost of Yotei more. That's me. I can see where others would say no. I don't. I like that stumble upon feature, and I like the way it's hand drawn as you continue to go through. Mag or anybody else playing? Shout out to Logic. Go ahead, Mooch. Mag.
It feels organic.
It does.
Like the game, from all mechanics, whether you're playing the in-world mechanics, whether you're interacting with the map, when you get the little chunk, you get those little pieces of cloth because you talk to some random dude who just happens to be sitting on the side and he's fixing his wagon, and you don't even think of talking to the guy, but for some reason you feel almost inclined to just go over there and see what he's up to. So I'm like, you know what? Let me get off this horse and go see what this guy's up to. And then all of a sudden he tells you something, and then you're like, well, it's a good thing I went to go talk to this guy because he just gave me a hint towards whatever, right? X, Y, and Z. And then those the other people, they give you that little cloth, and then you have to match it with the map.
Yes.
Right? You put it on there, and you're like, okay, that just opened up whatever, a fox den or a wolf den.
That's right.
Or one of those missions. And I find the game to be, in all aspects, it's mesmerizing. It almost like it puts you, I know this sounds really melodramatic, but I'm being dead serious. It really puts you in a trance of sorts, where you're just kind of like, you feel like you're living it. You don't feel like, okay, I'm going from A to B and from B to C. Like, you actually feel like you're living in the world. And the other thing I enjoy about it, and my wife actually said the same thing. She says, you know, this feels like a Western. And I said, bingo. This is not a samurai game. This is not a kung fu game. This is not, this is not any of that stuff. This is a Western. And if you actually sit and listen to the music, which I am obviously very in tuned, no pun intended, with musical scores, is that you can actually hear like the twang of a Western style guitar every once in a while, like throughout the story, and you hear it and you feel it, and it's almost got that sort of spaghetti Western / Quentin Tarantino sound to it, with a little bit of Kill Bill thrown in there. And it's a little bit of all these things where when you actually see it, she is not a samurai, she's a gunslinger. She's the, never mind the ghost, she's the pale rider, she's the man with no name. That all those things. She's the Clint Eastwood, and you could see the way that she talks, the way she acts, even a little bit of her swagger, as downplayed as it is. And you're like, this is not a samurai game. And I realized it after about 5 hours. I'm like, this is a Western. And again, no pun intended, because it's an Eastern game, but you get what I'm saying. It's done in that fashion, and when you do that and when you play it and you see it, you're like, okay, she's basically Clint Eastwood. Likable character. I know Jin was a whole different thing, but because he was played in a very understated manner, right? Because he was a more mild-mannered person or whatever else. He very rarely showed emotion. He did on occasion, but it wasn't the same. It didn't come out the same way. But in most respects, when you think about it, traumatize a dude and traumatize a woman and see who makes more of a friggin' racket. All right. It's usually right. It's usually the woman who's certainly more emotional and whatever else. And because of that, I think her portrayal is just, to me, it's more I'm finding it to be more heartfelt, and I could feel that pain in there. And once again, making that comparison to Kill Bill, she's like what's her name there, Beatrix Kiddo, right? That kind of thing. She was left for dead. She lost this, she lost that, whatever. And you still get that vibe from her, and I'm rooting for her, and that's a good sign. You know that you've made an incredible game when you're rooting for the main character, as opposed to, all right, dude, move your ass from A to B so I can go get the save point. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I actually care about the character. And because I care about her, it's making the experience even that much more immersive. So anyway, it's so far for me, it's 10 out of 10. And I will say below that.
I'm only sitting at about 20. I have 20 hours into the game, and I've still have only killed the snake, which is the very first scene. I've just run around and opened up the map as much as possible. Yeah.
Right.
Isn't it amazing? You just walk around, you're like, what's that over there? And then you wander over there and you're like, oh, I can cut down those bamboo shoots.
Yes.
You cut them down and you discovered something. You're like, oh, this is cool. Wasn't on the map. And then you start walking around. The next thing you know, 30 minutes later, you're still wandering around.
Listen, I was going to give, I'm glad you set me up for that. I was going to give this example to the audience, and I don't think they're going to, now that you said it that way, at least I can say, I've literally said 2 or 3 times now, especially over the past couple of days, I was like, I'll be right there. I'm like, we have somewhere to go. So, and I'm like, I'm just finishing this one. And then the minute one quest ends, I just kind of venture out just a little ways, and then whatever, you find the bird or you're going off, and I run into another camp to take, and I'm like, I'll be right there. And it's very ebb and flow. It just flows. The game has a very good feeling to it. The world is unbelievably large. I mean, the way that they scaled this thing, it's unbelievable. And your draw distance and how far you can see, a lot of that stuff. Crazy. The one thing I'll say, and let me know if you guys, this is me coming from the Souls world a bit, that I kind of miss is, so one of the things when you're learning, the mechanics is there's no lock on, right? So your left analog, as you move it, left to fight, the left opponent, the one up north fighting that one. That's how you, and you, like Nib was saying earlier, that's how you kind of get used to, you have to be 1, 2, 3 hit, then you have to be ready because the enemy behind you is coming and the enemy to the north is coming. So you just kind of get used to moving. I actually am getting used to it now, and I forgot because it's been a while since I played Ghost of Tsushima. But my point being is I do miss, in a sense, a lock-on system. I know you guys are going to disagree with me because that takes a little bit of that ebb and flow. But I wish there was a way that I could just lock on a bit, because sometimes I get hit when I know I'm doing my damnedest, and I'm playing on hard. I'm not playing it on, what's the one above hard? There's one that's like, are you crazy? Lethal, right? And I'm playing it on hard, and don't get me wrong, it's got a nice challenge to it, but at the same time, I don't think it's the game that's hard. It's my mechanics and getting used to that fight. But I think that's part of the game and the way it was designed. So I don't know, you guys.
Do you find yourself clicking the left thumbstick instinctively, like a lot? when you're in a fight? Because I do. Because in a lot of games, clicking the left thumbstick automatically highlights a character.
It'll highlight.
You can turn on lock on. You know that, right?
I did not.
What the hell, man?
I did not know
I've left
that.
it on default, but you can add all those things from the original game.
Okay, I was going to say in the original, I didn't have it.
That's literally going to change everything for me because my only complaint so far that's going to bring it down from a 10 is the problem with the combat. It's not a problem with the combat; it's a problem with me. But what's happening is I'm focusing on one person, right? And I'm like, all right, and I get this guy. He's about to do his move. I want to parry and this and that. I see the other dude on my right, and I'm like, I'm watching you too, bro. But then all of a sudden, because I don't have the camera spun around, I don't want to have it locked onto a system. Another dude behind me smacks me in the back of the head, and I didn't see it coming and then I have to wildly swing the camera around and find that there's a guy directly behind me as well because they kind of circled me. And I'm having trouble navigating that. But now that you're mentioning that doesn't really sound like a cheat to me per se. But it's funny because when I'm in battle, I consistently keep clicking the left thumbstick. It's going to lock on like a million other games out there when you're playing, like even Hogwarts Legacy or whatever you're playing, right? You lock on your character or onto the enemy and whatnot. So that's I did not realize you could do that in the thing. So thank you for that.
I personally really enjoy that it doesn't have the lock on. It kind of it's a bit like Gradius or something, you know, where those stick shooters where you have to be really precise with your thumb positioning.
Yes.
Because as soon as I see a bit of because I'm doing it in Mickey mode as well, which is actually harder as well because it's a closer camera, so I can't actually see people in the distance, but it does give you a tiny bit of a coloration hue in one side, and instinctively I'll always put my analog stick in that direction or just prep myself for a parry or something. So it hasn't been an issue so far. And in fact, sometimes when there's 3-4 people surrounding me, in a single combo, I'll actually hit all 3-4 of them just to give me some space. So I'll be like, boom, 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 boom. And just to give them a little whack so they go into block mode. And again, I don't think I would be able to do that if I had the lock on, because I wouldn't have the fluidity of just, directionality, because in the space of 2 seconds, I've tapped my analog stick in 5 different directions.
If T-Rock was grading me right now, he'd probably give me a C+ because he says it tells you there's a lock on the start. T-Rock, I gotta be honest with you, buddy. I did not see that.
I didn't know either, and I've been playing for hours and hours and hours.
I've been playing it for. Well, listen. I've said this to crap years ago. I'll say it again on the air right now. Okay, when I go and order a meal out, okay, and I order the dish. Okay, I don't order one of the best steaks in New York and then ask for A1 sauce to smother it in, right? So I got to be honest with you. Even with the lock on there, I got to be honest with you, T-Rock, I'm probably not going to use it because I like to eat the dish. I like to play the game the way the artist or the chef intended you to enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? So, if that's what they feel, I will continue, because that's how I played through Ghost of Tsushima, so there's no way I can sit here and tell you. It's just I'm getting used to the mechanics. And also, shout out to Nib. Nib gave me a blast last week, which he should have. He really should have. He's like, Mooch, I don't know how. He follows me on everything. He goes, I don't know how the hell you play 5 games. And shout out to King Thresh. He's like, I do that too. My thing is, I actually, that Michael Jordan meme that's out there? I was like, I was staring at the iPad and I was like, I took that personally. I said, you know what, Nib, I see what you're saying. So I stopped playing, no Warzone. I stopped playing a couple of the other smaller games I was playing. Sword of the Sea, things like that. I literally have focused on Ghosts of Yotai, and also I couldn't just do one. I also got quite far in Silent Hill F. And I'm just focusing on those 2 games. I am only going to focus on those until they're beat because of Nib. Nib got to me. I got done with the show last week. I walk into the family. I go, I got to stop hopping around 5 games.
Because there was you micro paused for a minute, and I was like,
I did.
He didn't respond instead.
No, I'm like, he got me. He really did. I'm like, I really do. I'm playing, and so I focused on. I probably shouldn't even focus on 2. But nonetheless, shout out to Full Sweat Try Hard. Guys, honestly, you guys are all fantastic folks here. He says, this is the second time I've been put in timeout for stating facts by Mary. Listen, I support this podcast. Thank you. Full Sweat Try Hard is always supported. Mary, you've been an outstanding moderator as well. I always say this. If somebody just wants to put their opinion out there, that they're safe to be able to put their opinion out there, as long as they're not attacking or using curse words or really, really hitting home on a subject. And if I see that, then I will assist in the removal. But I'm saying let people speak if they're speaking, especially if they're just putting a context out there. That's just their belief. That's fine. Let them speak their mind.
Back to the 2 of you who have played it, right?
Yes.
Obviously, Mag gave his preliminary score. to the people listening, we're not saying this is the final score. This is like
not at all.
The score. Yeah, this is the score based on what we played so far, and if it holds up for the rest of the way, this is the score we might give it. So, what are you guys leaning on? Like,
that's the thing.
As where I'm at right now.
Sorry, go ahead. What was
go ahead, Mag. Go ahead, Mag.
Oh, I was going to say, that's why I do, this is not a shameless plug like Brap, okay? I do this thing called Marinated Reviews on my channel. And what I do is I start with one score, I finish the game and I give another score. What I do after that, I sit on it for another week. I may even go back and play some of it again, and then I give a final score, because what ends up happening 10 times out of 10, that score changes over time, right? As it sits and you get to let it marinate in your mind and this and that, and you're like, you know what, that mechanic wasn't really working. And I'm like, I liked it at the time, but now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of silly or whatever, right? And so the score goes down. So I'm starting at the 10, and then I will slowly move it down as I progress through the game. Right now, I'm about 6 hours in, and I still haven't seen anything that has led me to believe that this isn't so far a perfect game for me specifically.
I would
now
say
that the lock on, I'm going to go up to a 10.5.
Right, I was just going to say, and I'll let Eric and a couple others get in here. Let Logic give his point on a couple of things with the games too. But
Eric,
I would say honestly, because mine's not done yet, so this is I guess I love it. I can use what the big boys use. This is my review in progress. You know, should I? I would say probably I'm sitting around an 8.5 right now. You know, and it's just because like So I have a lot of respect for like Jake Baldino and the guys over at I think it's Gamer Ranks, and you know he did a really good review of it with no spoilers, and I kind of feel the way he does. Everything has been enhanced. The world, the missions, the feeling, the combat, the story, but it's a lot of more Tsushima, right? Which I think is fantastic. So for me to get up to that 9.5 for me, a lot of times is when I'm like, wow, you took something that was this and you just transformed it into something I've never ever experienced before. You took it to a whole nother level. Maybe like when you'd say, well, give me an example, Mooch. I'll give you an example. Going from God of War 3 to God of War 2018, right? That's the, wow, you took God of War and you went there, or you took this and you went there. So it's sitting at about an 8.5. I'm not saying this thing can't hit a 9 when I'm done. I'm just saying right now I'm the opposite of Mag. Mag starts at the top and then deducts, right? I'm kind of adding to the stack as I go. So
you haven't beaten anyone besides Snake, right?
I have no. The only thing I have attacked is I've attacked as many of the dueling trees as I possibly can find, and I'm going everywhere. So
So who are you gonna take on first out of the Yote 6?
The one that I think was the if I'm saying it right, the Oni.
Oni, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
I think Oni is.
Let's come back to this after you've done Oni, because I find as cool as the side stuff is, the actual main quests are like they are the meat and potatoes still.
Absolutely. Which is why I said my score is probably going to go up. I mean, is it going to be a 9.9? Probably not, but is it going to go up? Absolutely. Eric, what do you think?
The Oni stuff was awesome, man. Trust me. Just wait.
Right.
Yeah. I've only taken on Snake, but I'm only about, I would say like 5-6 hours in, you know, just kind of like I said, been kind of just riding around, taking it all in. So based on that, you know, if I'm going to throw a score, you know, Tsushima was like a 9 for me. So right now it's giving me more of what I had in that game and kind of, you know, elevating it like with the different modes or whatever, you know. If you haven't been playing the game in autonomy mode, definitely put that on too, because that soundtrack is fire. You know, that little hip hop stuff in there. So yeah, so for right now, I'll kind of take a little bit from Nib. I'll take a little bit from Meg. I'm going to stay at a 9 because Tsushima was a 9. And Mooch, we come from an era where we don't need our sequel to have complete new assets and everything else. And,
True.
You know, and it's the same boat animation and all this other whatever. A sequel is a sequel.
It is.
Or a continuation of, you know, what was there before, and then you add on to it. And so far, they've done that. So
that's a great point.
So I'm going to take what Nib said, and once I get into the actual mainline story parts of it, we'll go from there. But so for now, I'll sit at a 9. You know, and I'll come down from there or go up from there. You know,
I feel like after you guys do the main mission stuff, you're going to get bumped up.
Yeah.
If you're already at a 9, I think
that's what I hear. That's what I hear.
Yeah.
So, but I'm going to go at the Oni next to Nib. So that's where I'm going. That's where I'm heading.
Shout out there. Now, Logic, are you playing this at all, Logic?
I have not started it yet. Are you guys able to hear me okay?
No, we can hear you now, buddy. Yeah, I figured you were having a Was it Discord or was it a microphone issue? It's usually Discord.
It's a little bit of both.
Logic,
Okay.
just before you go, can I ask you a question about your profile picture? Who's the lady on PSN? That's your profile picture. Because you don't sound like you look like her.
This is Amy the Hood, Microsoft CFO since May 2014, I think.
That dude is trolling even on his PlayStation profile.
I love it. Reminds me of when Crap came on with Phil. It's so funny. I love it.
You never disappoint me, brother. You never disappoint me, bro.
What do you got, that
One
singer?
thing I do have to raise with way Mag was talking about in his overview
Yes.
of Ghost of Yotei. That is bar for bar the way I feel about RPGs. Bar for bar. Mag just did my job for me, which was interesting because that comes down to player agency. And it seems like Yotei has the player agency down, where you are in control. The game isn't telling you the story. You go about, like I Baldur's Gate, for example. It's like, oh, what's over here? Let me just walk over here.
Yeah.
So, or Pathfinder is another one. You go on the world map, right? And like some random dude just stood there and he was like, hey, there's a treasure chest over in this cave. Just thought I'd let you know. Turns out this fucker is in cahoots with the bandits who have the cave, and then they ambush you. And then you nearly die, and you're like, I don't trust none of you fuckers anymore. I walk around the world map, and I'm like, I don't trust you, I don't trust you. You tell me there's treasure over there, I'm going to drag your ass, and you're coming with me. So it's great, because you just don't know what's going to happen, and that makes player agency amazing. So Yotei is sounding really, really nice. Because when I heard Mag say all that, I'm like, holy shit, that's the way I feel about certain games too.
See, now this would be a great time for Death Singer to have a PS5 Pro. I'm just saying.
He's going to enjoy it in 2028. It's going to be wonderful.
That's correct.
I am. Yep, correct.
Death Singer, I promise you. When it comes to PC, we will do a Ghost of Yotei segment on the show. That is my word to you.
Hey, let's go.
Okay. Shout out to Light X. He says Ghost of Yotei is leaps and bounds better than the first game, but the review scores from some outlets like IGN have it lower than Tsushima. Why? Anybody want to tackle that? I mean, I can't
think of a reason.
The easiest answer is and Light X, this is a question to you. Was it the same reviewer? I got to be honest with you guys. I mean, I listen. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't look at some
IGN now.
I was just going to say I don't look at IGN for reviews. I mean, do I see the number as I scroll through on X? Yeah, I see the number. They give a lot of things, sure. But do I deep dive into their review and look at what they're thinking about? Like I said, Jake Baldino. I know a lot of people don't like Skill Up, but I will listen to his. I mean, he does a 45-minute review. So I mean, even if you don't like him, you probably like 7 minutes. You know what I mean? You might like 7 minutes of it. So I don't know. I think those guys are pretty thorough. I go more with those guys. And then I honestly, much like Death Singer says, these guys that are on the panel right now, a lot of times we'll write each other in DMs. Hey, what do you think about this? What are you going to pick this up? What's your logic behind it? You know, this and that. That's kind of how I go by it. The only other thing I was going to say, Light X, is possibly my thought is, was it the same reviewer? I don't know. If it's not the same reviewer, maybe you just got different, you know.
Yeah, obviously they're different reviewers as well. But I will say, reading some of the negatives of some of the negative reviews, like some people did find it repetitious or challenging or frustrating in parts, and other people didn't gel as much with the story or whatever. They are outliers though, because I think it's like 86 or 87 on Metacritic, which is still above the previous game, which is 83. To me, I think it should be higher above personally, because I think even though I kind of feel like it's not getting the recognition it deserves for the gameplay improvements. And again, especially for someone like me who does like difficult games, like, because I played Shadow of the Erdtree, I completed Silk Song, Erdtree, this Cat's Out on the Mat, you know, and so to have, I always hear this complaint that like, oh, Sony cinematic games, they're just like, they play for you, right? Okay, so they've taken that to heart and they've given you something. If you want, you can bump up the difficulty and have something really challenging, right? And they give you this option with this breadth of mechanics and you know, there's so much you need to take into consideration in the heat of combat, you know, switching weapons, this, parry, dodge, whatever, your builds. And they've given you all these systems and stuff that are really gameplay focused, and then people aren't, you know, they're still they look at the videos and they think, oh, it's just a cinematic game. It plays for you. They don't understand how much mechanical potency you need, right, to do this on like Lethal and stuff. So yeah, I think maybe like some reviewers, maybe they did go into expecting like a Sony cinematic experience that's more of a power fantasy and a bit handholdy, but it's not really like that. It's actually the opposite. It's more like, make your own way, figure your own path, learn these mechanics, like be competent, and maybe, maybe that aspect of it isn't resonating as much with the people who maybe expected something a bit different.
That's actually a good way to think about it, honestly. Shout out to Mark says Yotai on RT Pro mode is godly on PS5 Pro. You know, it's funny. A buddy of mine one time, when plasma TVs were the hottest and coolest thing, I got one of the plasma TVs, and they were like, "Oh my god, this looks amazing!" Blah blah. And my buddy, I said, "You're gonna get one of these?" He goes, I'll be honest with you." He goes, "Your TV looks better than my TV," but he goes, "Unless I bring my TV over to your TV, I don't know when I get home." You know, so I'm always wondering. Now that I have two Pros, I don't have a base PS5. I never really looked at the two, so I'm enjoying what I'm getting on the PS5 Pro as far as performance and the ray tracing. But I don't know. Are you guys comparing it to a basic anymore? PS5? I'm enjoying just the upgrades in performance, the ray tracing. It looks beautiful. It plays beautiful. I got to be honest with you. And I know that they say they aim for 60. They're nailing 60 with this thing, and it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I can't really say as far as what the base is doing. And shout out to Moonshot. He goes, "The Yankees lose." I will say this much. I'm a Mets fan. I don't hate Yankee fans. I don't hate the Yankees as much as people think Mets fans do. I think Yankee fans are more pissed off at us that we got Juan Soto. That's a you problem. That's a you problem. But yeah, honestly, the great news about the Yankees and Blue Jays not playing tonight was the great Mag was with us tonight. Otherwise, I was going to have to try to cancel that game myself and fly up to Toronto.
Hey, Mooch.
Yes, please.
One thing I noticed in the chat. Let's stop this "I won't buy a PlayStation" narrative.
Oh, because, are you getting that? You mean people are saying Death Singer won't buy one? Or you mean just people? Oh. Well, no.
They're saying I won't buy one, but everyone who knows me knows I went out and got a PS4 for Persona 5 Royal.
That's right, you did. You've been very vocal about that.
I have no problem, and I have the proof. So I have no problem doing this. It's just they have to meet my expectations, and that is GTA 6.
Yep.
At 60 FPS.
Buddy, believe me, I just hope there isn't
expectation. I'm there.
I just want that to happen more than you do. I want you to join and have that there. And
the thing is, people think it's unrealistic. No, I want it to happen. I want 60 FPS to happen, please.
Well, we all do.
Rockstar, don't let me down.
I don't think they will. I really don't. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. I know you're holding out, and that's fine. I don't blame you, Death Singer. I mean, you're probably playing the odds, and the odds may be even on your side. But I really do think you're going to see a 60 FPS mode. Now, what that's going to take away from the game in other aspects, that's to be determined, right? And we'll talk about it. But yeah, so let's do this. Anybody else have any comments on this? I was going to move on to the meat and potatoes here. I wanted to get into the Xbox Magnus and what's going on with Xbox and some of the situations there, and then we'll circle back to some games because I do want to talk about Battlefield 6. So I put Xbox Future in question, Mag. Mag, are you back, by the way? Because I don't know if I see he's muted, so if he's not, I'll ask Crap.
No, I'm here.
All right.
I'm here. Sorry,
I want to get Mag and Crap. I want to get both of them involved with this because this is your guys' forte here. So the Xbox Magnus is still reported to be happening by some camps. And my thing was this, Mag. I said this all along. I said this weeks and weeks ago, if not months ago. I said their discount. They got the Xbox Series to an all-time high in price. They're taking them off store shelves. They're going third party. They're putting everything day and date. I know there's a couple staggered ones like with Forza and stuff like that, but they're going to be coming. They even made a point to say it's coming out on PS5 at some point.
Right.
My point is, why would you still have research, development, marketing, and all that money going into a new platform that's dedicated hardware by Xbox? I'm not saying they're not going to do something with Asus or Hewlett Packard, but I'm saying Xbox. What do you think?
Well, there's this. If you look at it objectively and not fanboy or whatever the hell you want to call it, if you look at this whole situation objectively, if you worked for Mooch Tech, okay,
great
and
company.
Mooch Tech had a division. They had a division, and you built a Mooch mobile. All right.
Oh.
And this Mooch mobile's out there. It does all right at the beginning, whatever else, but sales begin to decline year after year, month after month, whatever it is. Other car lots start removing your car. They're no longer selling the Mooch mobile. You can't buy it in most retail stores now. By the way, I did a test this week, just so everybody knows, after I did Magcast, and I talked about the exact same thing for about an hour. And I said, I went to GameStop. They had 2 Series S's in the building, and this is a big GameStop. I went to Best Buy. They had nothing. They did not have anything. Now that, of course, they don't carry them at Costco anymore. By the way, that affected Canada as well. That's not just a United States thing. So they're not at Costco anymore. They're not at Sam's Club anymore. And they're not at Walmart anymore.
Right.
And then Best Buy didn't have any on display. The only thing they had on display was a ROG, the ROG Ally. They had one of those on display, which you can go and check out with supervision, mind you. But it was there and it was attached to the whatever, right? So you're thinking about all of this, declining sales in the hardware. I'm talking about the hardware specifically. I'm not talking about Game Pass. I'm not talking about, billions of dollars. I'm not talking about sales on PlayStation, specifically the console hardware. Okay, so like I said, your Mooch mobile's not selling. It's not going anywhere, whatever. If the head of Mooch Tech comes out and says, okay, all the divisions are making money here, there's one specific area which we are consistently losing money, and it's the hardware. Why on God's green earth do you think that a CEO or the head of marketing or whatever, or the CFO is going to greenlight more hardware when you are the only division losing money?
It makes no sense. I don't know.
Now, I'm not talking about.
I have a
the
question
Xbox
for you on that,
division.
Mag. So, but what if in the Mooch mobile, you sell a Mooch car operating system?
Okay.
And one thing that runs in that Mooch car operating system is the Mooch car autopilot software.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you need to sell both of those things because they are huge money makers for your company.
Right.
Okay.
So then what would you do? You would strip it for parts, wouldn't you? And then you would sell the service.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, Logic,
and
using your reference, we could use that software that's within the vehicle on other vehicles. You want to warrant that out to all the other
I'm just
vehicles.
Simplifying
because the vehicle's losing money for you. Yeah.
You kind of get the idea. But I'm saying if you have actually just sit back and specifically target what is consistently losing money, it's the hardware. It's not the sales. It's not apparently not Game Pass, right? Which Sarah Bound was very kind to remind us one day before the price hike that it's doing well. So they're making money. They're making money on software and services, and of course the cross-platform Project Latitude. They're making money. PlayStation is buying games, right? So they're doing well. The publishing arm is doing well. Yes, their projections for Call of Duty Black Ops 6 were much higher than their projections were higher than the reality because they didn't think that many people were actually going to play it on Game Pass. So in fact, they didn't actually lose $300 million. They lost $300 on a projection, right? So in all aspects of this business, they're not number one. They're certainly not number two. They are number three, but they're not losing money in all those departments. But what are they losing money consistently on? Hardware. So by logic alone, not game logic, just actual logic. Who the hell would greenlight another piece of hardware that has consistently lost money over the several couple years? And like I said, from a logical point of view, it makes no sense. It makes zero sense. I talked about it with Colt on Monday. He even agreed with me. He's like, it doesn't make sense. And I'm like, exactly. I'm just saying it from a logical point of view, not a fanboy or a grifter or whatever the fuck they call me sometimes when I make a video that people don't, if it doesn't align exactly with their with their narrative, then I'm, fill in the blank, right?
Yeah.
So the point is that it doesn't make any actual logical sense. Now, there is another avenue that you can go down. Of course, you're talking about the third-party hardware. But the thing is, when you start thinking about that, what third-party company is going to sit there and say, well, we don't want to lose money either, dude? Right?
Well,
so it's like, you know what I mean? And now, on top of this, we don't have to go, we don't have to ad nauseum about what happened over the last 8 days. We already saw what happened in the last 8 days. Your public perception now is so bad that even Jez Corden was talking about it the other day. He said, I was leaving the gym, and he says, it's the first time I've ever heard anybody talking about Xbox in public, and the only thing that they were saying was, man, I guess Xbox is dead now. And he said that he overheard that in the lobby of the gym as he was leaving, going to the parking lot, right? He just posted it today, I think it was. And so what's happened now is that the public zeitgeist is that their public perception is so bad. The image is just kicked into the dirt. I released a video today that pissed off a lot of people, but there was actually way more people that agree with me than not. They seem to have given up on marketing. They've got 4 games coming out in a month. Where is the marketing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got Outer Worlds coming out in literally 15 days. I haven't heard a damn word about it.
That's right. I mean, to be honest with you, if it wasn't for I gotta be honest, I haven't seen it at all, Meg. I haven't seen anything about it.
Days, Mooch.
That's
you know what I mean? And that doesn't
I wasn't sure if you were able to hear me before, but did you hear the question that I asked you before I had to?
No, we did not, Logic.
No. What's up?
Go ahead, Logic.
Hello?
I think
he dipped it.
I think it's a microphone technical
we'll get
issue.
back to it,
Logic, you'll be back. Go ahead.
There's another option. The other option is they still have the hardware. And then what they could do is that they can offer it like the way Apple does. Off the website, you buy it off the website, like a boutique product. Here it is, you get it, they send it to your house. No harm, no foul to them. It's going to cost you $1,000, but at least you'll have your hardware. You can't say that they didn't do it, but they're not going to mass produce it. Just like Apple does. You think Apple has a warehouse full of $3,000 VR headsets?
No.
They do it per order. Oh, I mean, they don't do it per order, but they do it like small increments.
That's right.
So that when they do get orders, they produce just enough to replace what they sold. And that's all there is to it. They're not going to have giant warehouses in Thailand filled with $3,000 Apple VR headsets, that whatever the hell that thing was called. Right.
So,
same thing with this.
So, I'll piggyback off that. Oh, go ahead, Meg. Finish your thought if you're in the middle of it.
I was going to say one last thing and then I'll pass off the mic. But the last thing I was going to say is, so now you've got that option. And when they said the other day, and I said this on XNC too, it was actually really funny, especially being an Xbox podcast. I put up my hand. I said, guys, everybody in the chat, while Colt was talking, I said, everybody in the chat, put up your hand if you trust Microsoft. If you don't trust Microsoft. And I was watching the chat. We had 1,000 or 1,200 people watching. And all the way, all these little hands were there, not trusting them. So the thing is, you could say, well, we're deep in development of our next hardware. Right? You could say that. They've been deep in development on their hardware since 2020. When November 2020, when the series consoles dropped, the development and the research into the new hardware already began. So technically, you're not lying. When Brad Sams, the man who literally peddles your hardware product on a YouTube page, says he doesn't believe them, you've got a serious image problem at that point. You see what I'm getting at? And so the thing is, he says, did you guys see that clip? I'm sure you saw that clip.
I did.
Where he goes, well, they're making it till they aren't, right?
Right.
And then he named off a bunch of products where they did the exact same thing.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, so there are I'm not saying no. Some stupid asshole is going to say, I'm saying hardware's dead. They just don't listen. That's fine. I don't listen to people like that. No brains. What I'm saying is there are options. And they could still do the hardware, sure. Or they might not do hardware at all. We don't know what this new guy's going to do, right? I forgot his name already.
Yeah, I know.
He's in charge of. Well, exactly that, right? That's part of his business model. So he's going to be looking directly at that and saying, and now there's a possibility, and I'm not saying for sure, but there's a possibility Phil might have to sit down and argue his case with somebody new now, because he did it with Satya 5 years ago, 6 years ago, how long ago it was, and had to sit there and fight to keep the console alive, because Satya would have killed that thing before the series actually came out.
Yeah, knowing what we know now and how he's responded.
Knowing what we know now, he was going to kill it.
Yes.
And so that being the case, you can look at this situation and you could say, now Phil's going to have to go back and do the argument all over again with a different guy, right? Now this different guy's going to be sitting in the chair and he's going to sit there and go, all right, Phil, convince me. Right? And sitting in the boardroom and they're going to have to discuss this. But this guy's also going to now have metrics. Microsoft is a company that works on metrics. When that dude sits down and sees those numbers, he's going to say, you're not doing a very good job of convincing me, because I'm looking at the numbers here and I see those red arrows going down. I don't see any green arrows going up in the hardware specifically, not the division, not Xbox division, the hardware. And that is where they're going to have a difficult time trying to negotiate.
But now he's seeing a whole bunch of red arrows pointing down after a spike increase in Game Pass pricing. So they're going to see a bit of a down drift there as well. I don't see that going up.
It's going to be hard to dig out of that reputation.
Right now, it'd be great if you just could sustain who you have. If you could sustain who you have, I would almost call that a minor victory right now.
You will, to a certain extent, Mooch, but you're not going to get the same amount of people that you had this generation. It's going to consistently go down. From what I heard internally, that their projections for next generation would be anywhere between 10 and 15 million console users. So that's about cut in half, if not a little bit.
And every
less than
time
half
you can ask Death Singer this. Every time they raise the price of PC Game Pass, you're gonna lose more and more PC guys. You know what I mean?
Lose more and more too, right?
It is what it is.
Get picky and choose here, but anyway, those are all the options. I don't know which one they're gonna go with. But and then maybe they don't even know which one they're going to go with. But I'm just presenting all the different possibilities. But if you were to look at logic, simple logic, it doesn't make any sense outside of maybe tailoring specifically for the hardcore who will continue to buy. I mean, guys lined up and bought $1,000 handhelds, right? They're coming next week. And so they would be more than happy to spend $1,000 on a console that they can get and they can continue on with it. It'll be powerful and this and that, whatever. Right. And then just do it on a very limited basis. I can see them doing that without taking any loss. That would be their best option.
So you just set it up. Crap, let me ask you, Crap, because you've been very vocal. You've been on the show a number of times. What do you say? You say, listen, I've got 1,500 games. You're a console guy. You're not going to PC. So where are you going to play, Crap? I mean, is this a situation where if they have I'm not going to put a number on it because I got to be honest with you, Crap. I know you may not be fond of it, but if it's $700-800 and it's made by Asus and the next Xbox is strong and this and that, I mean, you saying, hey, I'm going to pick that up doesn't surprise me. But is that satisfying enough? Because what you're really doing at that point is you're literally buying the hardware to be able to continue to access your games. You know?
Yeah, I mean, my hope would be that like current Xbox would last a while longer, which I think that's probably the plan. I mean, I don't see why, just like they did with the Xbox One, which is still getting games, not from them, but I would expect them to continue to support it for years, because they're going to want to combine those, right? Whatever the amount is, whether it be 30 million Series X and S, they're going to want to combine that with the users of whatever comes next so that they can go, okay, well, because the console is where they get most of their Game Pass subscribers, right? Yep. So regardless, I mean, if you're somebody who plays online gaming and you play online that's not free to play, even if you hated and canceled your subscription for Game Pass, you had to get some kind of Game Pass, right? You had to get the base Game Pass at worst, right? So, to them, they probably thought, hey, we're going to up the price. And I had a feeling, I didn't get to say this last week because it was like everybody was talking, but I get the feeling that Microsoft wanted people to go down to this middle tier of Game Pass that gets games a year later because I think they realized what a mistake it was to have
Crap! Remember
exclusives day one.
Remember our show? It used to be on Sunday mornings? I think we used to talk about that. Remember we said make it 6 months, make it 12 months. Give a reason for the console to exist. I remember someone saying that crap. Go ahead.
Look at EA Play or whatever, right? Yeah. Like Madden and all this stuff. That stuff will come a year later.
Yeah.
But people that want to play that stuff will buy it right now.
Right.
So it's like, Battlefield will come to EA Play a year from now, but everybody's gonna, millions of people are still gonna buy it tomorrow or whatever. So it's like that's the best way to do it because you get people that will wait, but you also get a lot of people that are going to give you that big money up front. So I think Microsoft realistically did that to kind of maybe get people to maybe go down, so they don't have to, maybe they'll buy a couple games now instead of, if they're really interested in it or whatever. So I think, they made some mistakes. If you look at it, they did a lot of panic moves. Like originally, I think the whole like Play Anywhere thing, I think that was very panicky on their part. Mm-hmm. Oh, we're going to give away 2 free copies. And it was like their own metrics showed that people that buy a game on PC, play it on PC. Right. People that buy a game on console, play it on console. There was very little where they would get up and, okay, well, I'm going to play it here and then play it on PC. Like there was very little of that, so they really panicked with that. I thought they panicked with putting the day one stuff on there. The exclusives anyway, I thought that was foolish. I think just from the looks of it, they're probably going to do some, because look, they entered in some kind of contract and it'd probably be more expensive for them to cancel that contract than to actually put out some consoles. So I think they're going to put out something, whether it's, I'm not sure what that'll be exactly. Some people will go, well, some kind of hybrid or something. I don't understand how they could do a hybrid or a PC or whatever they're calling it,
Mhm.
and when they just raised Game Pass to $30, and part of that price is the online gaming aspect, which there is no pay to play online gaming on PC. So unless they want to make PC or the gaming online free, like, which obviously they're not going to do that, then why did they just do the price increase? You know what I mean? Like, so I think they kind of played their hand on that. That they might be coming out with something called an Xbox PC, from third parties or whatever. I think that's a possibility as well. In terms of, I think they'll probably still have some kind of console, but I think it's going to be like their Surface, where you have to, like he was saying, where you have to go to the website, because obviously these big brick and mortar stores aren't going to sell them at all. So, this thing's probably not going to have a disk drive at all either, which is, that kind of kills it anyway, because, I have a lot of physical games like Xbox Series X, Xbox One. I got hundreds.
Yeah. How are you supposed to preserve those once the Series X is out?
Exactly. So it's like, it's like the new thing has a lot of different things, whether or not I'm going to be able to get it. I think price plays a lot to it, for $800, $1,000 used to be able to get two, maybe even all three consoles from the big three. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like, it's hard to kind of really kind of explain to the families. Oh, well, it's $1,000 to get this one thing or whatever. You know what I mean? So, and they're diminishing returns. I mean, I like games look good. It all kind of blends together for me now, no matter what I'm playing on. So it's like, I get what they're doing. I understand that. I think Microsoft is really in an odd space, because on one hand, their hardware loses money. On the other hand, the only money that they're making seems to be through their subscriptions, and that's majority console, right? So it's like they kind of they hurt themselves by going for years and years saying, well, you don't need an Xbox, and now their whole thing is everything's an Xbox. But I don't, it's like I don't see the everything else like being a big thing. I like cloud gaming sucks, and you know what I mean. It's like I don't see a lot of people wanting to pay $360 a year to be able to cloud game and things like that. I just, I don't think that that's going to be the thing. I mean, just look at the cloud gaming stuff, how it is. Like, nothing has been successful in that area right now. And so, like, for me anyway, it's all about the console. It's like, especially, I see some people go, well, cloud gaming's okay if you play this 8-bit game, and, but it's like, for me, man, I'm never going to play that way. You're tethered, you're online. Like, what happened to the outrage over that?
The outrage, everything has shifted. Crap. Remember the whole thing when we first started podcasting? It was physical versus digital, right? And then it was the DRM stuff. And now everyone's like all digital and bring on the DRM. You know what I mean? It's like,
they love
it wasn't
like,
Eric, you remember
man,
that? I mean,
I like being able to look at my collection. I grab a 360 game, pop it in my 360, I play it, or I grab an NES game. You know what I mean? Or a Sega Genesis game. And just pop it in and just play it.
But you could add on to it, like, exclusives were all the rage, and then exclusives didn't matter, and then it was power is the most important, and then you get a Series S, and now power doesn't matter anymore. And then exclusives didn't matter, and then they did matter, and then they do.
Has what, right? It all depends on who has what. So it's like, it was all about 1080p and power, and then Xbox One X came out, and it was 4K, and then it didn't matter anymore.
Then it didn't matter.
Which I said one of their biggest mistakes. Was putting like the power cart before the horse, focusing so much on listening to the big players in the community and trying to match that power narrative versus doubling down on the game part of it.
Yeah, because I always say that, right? Like, the Xbox One X is probably one of my all-time favorite consoles, and it had no support from the first party. Nothing. They were bringing up old Halo games. They're like, we're patching these old Halo games that we should have fixed 4 years ago. So you'll be able to play those. You know what I mean? So it's like they literally had nothing, and it was such a great console, but it was like it got no support, and then it kind of left with the whimper. Man, they're just like, oh, we're not making them anymore.
And they did it again. They kept doing it where it was like, hey, here's another more powerful console. What do you have to show why I need this console? What are you supporting it with? Oh, well, the third party's got that locked on. Here's another one. And the community was right there. Yeah, more. Hey, that One X, that was great, but now we're going to move on to this. It has more power. More power for what?
Yeah, exactly. And they're doing it like
it was the Kinect. It was the Kinect crap. It was the Kinect of console stuff. Like, everyone should have a Kinect. Are you supporting it? Not really. Third party will do it. Well, why do I
And what's
need it?
funny is Phil went on quoted after he removed the Kinect from the bundle and was like, Kinect still got life. We're still going to have plans for it and all this. And they didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So anybody that believes, like, first of all, don't believe any corporation, but literally anything that has come
I've
out
been
of Phil
saying it,
Spencer's
hey,
mouth. Yeah.
Mooch, I've
Anything
been
that's
saying
come
that
out
for
of his,
how many years, Mooch?
Yep. Yeah.
Stop
anything that comes
believing
out
the
his mouth.
corporations.
Yeah, you can find the opposite at some point in an interview. He literally said buying Bethesda was about exclusive games where Game Pass exists, and now like pretty much everything
That's right.
is everywhere. And it's like, to me it's weird because, and I even called this, I was like, you'll see, and I knew which games would be successful if they put them on there, right? I knew Forza Horizon would be, because there's nothing else like that. It's just a phenomenal game.
Yeah.
But I said, watch, if they put Gears on there, it's not going to do very well, and it didn't. Right? People are like shocked. It didn't do well at all.
Yeah,
right?
everyone thinks that all of a sudden, right? Because now they're saying Halo CE crap might be coming to PlayStation. I don't expect that. You think that'll do like
it'll do better than Gears, but here's the thing, right? The same way with Gears, right? Gears is slow. And it's, you know what I mean? It's hardcore, the multiplayer. So people, not only that, but 20 years is plenty of time for people that have picked up a 360 and Xbox One. And, people have played it. So for the most part, so it's like people weren't really interested. With Halo CE, there's no sprint, there's no aiming down the sights. That game plays old and slow. There's going to be nostalgia there for certain people. It'll probably do better than Gears, but it's not going to do like millions and millions of units or anything.
Right. Yeah. No. It's funny. So to add a little bit, and Logic.
When in doubt, go back to Chief.
When in doubt, go back. Yeah. Halo, Forza, and Gears.
Glass to bring Chief.
I agree. So one of the things that Mag was talking about when he was like, how is it that internally with the hardware, and I kind of wanted to piggyback it when I was going over to crap. But if Logic, if you guys have anything to say, Destiny or Nib, chime in. But like the other point that was kind of brought out with news, a lot of news came out this week, was the official Xbox handheld, not the Asus one, okay, or not the one that's coming out, the Asus ROG Ally X. The official Xbox handheld was canceled over AMD's high minimum order requirement. So whatever that number was, I can't remember. Did they say it was 10,000? I don't remember what the number was. But they said you have to sell, right?
Million.
Right? Nib, was that right? They said 10,000. They have to sell that, and they were like, "No, it's canceled. We're not," because they know they're not going to sell. They're not going to sell that. Was it 10,000 or was it 10 million? I don't know what the hell it was.
It was 10 million.
10 million. Thank you. 10,000. I was like, they better sell 10,000 of them. Yeah.
That's the thing with economies of scale, right? Because one of the benefits to Nintendo and PlayStation is because they have a successful brand and product. The more of them that they sell and the more of them they're manufacturing, the more of a discount they get on hardware because it's mass produced in larger quantities, right?
Right.
And obviously, if Xbox, their numbers are dwindling and dwindling and dwindling, they are losing some of that economies of scale discount, or at least they don't have the same, bartering ability or whatever. So if they are projecting their next hardware to sell less and it's already a more powerful and performant piece of hardware that's going to cost more as well, you not only lose some of the economies of scale discount, but it's also going to be inherently more expensive just because of the specs that we've heard rumored. So yeah, it's a bit of a different proposition for Xbox. And while I'm not saying the hardware is cancelled, like I still believe, again, their 30% cut, the console space is still, quite a key component of it. But if hardware's going the way of the dodo, maybe they'll just spearhead it. But yeah, the thing with the rumors, a lot of people say, "Oh, why are you kind of just going with these random rumors?" But there's kind of no smoke without fire. These aren't just normal people saying this. Sneaker So he leaked multiple things in the past that ended up being accurate, including with some of the changes in strategy and the pivots.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time when he leaked those, people mocked him as well at the time. They were
Nib, are you talking about the sneakers?
Yeah, sneakers.
So wait, if you don't mind, Moonshot, and I'll go in reverse order here. There's a couple I'm behind, but he said, and Nib, you can finish your thought. I just want to put this out there. Moonshot says, who heard sneakers SO info about, he said Phil in the AstroTurfing PR campaign and was shocked. Look how Microsoft's been moving since Xbox One. Big promises, zero deliveries. That's something else that he was talking about with the AstroTurfing and this and that. But go ahead, Nib. But the sneakers, we were talking about sneakers with I think Tim Dog was on, and he was bringing them up, I think.
Yeah, so Sneakers has a good track record. Then again, Kepler also has a decent track record. He's saying that as far as he knows, it's still in development. Then you had Moore's Law is Dead, who said he spoke to someone the day before, and they're still talking about it going ahead. So we don't know. But the only thing I would take from all of this is that at least conversations are being had. Like it's just not necessarily the guarantee, but there's
It's not a sure thing.
It's not a sure thing. Yeah, there's some pessimism around it, and maybe the recent data and all the continual. Because the thing is, it's not just hardware decline; it's hardware year-on-year decline on hardware year-on-year decline. 4 years on a trot or 3 years on a trot. Think about it. It's much easier to get hardware growth on a previous 3 years of hardware decline than it is to get a fourth year of hardware decline. That is catastrophically bad, right? Like we're at a stage now where the numbers are just, sometimes they're paltry. Obviously, United States is their strongest region, but in Europe and stuff, like we're talking more than a 12-to-1 ratio of PlayStation to Xbox sales in certain areas. And these are Western markets, so it's really quite dire. So I can see why these conversations are having. Then obviously to add more context in the United States, again, their strongest territory, more and more retailers are either removing the Xbox from their product line or they are signaling that they're about to. And, someone contacted one of the stock inventory, people who manages that in, I forgot the name of one of the major retailers. But they responded in the message saying, as far as we can see on the system, there are no plans to restock any of the Xbox consoles. For one of the major retailers to say that in the United States of all places, it's not like bloody, like some small European country where they don't have much coverage. It's like this is a United States mega retailer saying this. So yeah, I don't know. Like it's
Nib. Let me ask you a question. You love asking me questions. I got one that comes to mind for you real quick because it's on topic of what you're saying. And I'm torn. I'm torn because there's two ways to look at it. I'm 50-50. I'm deeply torn that we need to have an Xbox out there. You need to have that competition, right? For Sony, for the most part. Yeah. Nintendo's kind of on its own island, so I'll let Nintendo just float out there. They're very successful. Yeah. That's not a jab. They're doing their own thing. I'm a big Nintendo fan. You guys know that. But okay, so they need competition. But people say without competition, Sony's going to do what they want. The quality's going to drop. This and that. Normally, I'm on board with that. The other side of the 50% on the other coin is just Sony right now has put not all of their eggs, but 9 of the 12 eggs in the dozen into PlayStation, right? So PlayStation has to remain competitive as far as the market's concerned, because the market, and Brap's here too. One thing we always say is the market will determine, right? So if Sony wants to make the PS6 $1,200, they're gonna find something out pretty quick that the market's not going to allow for that, right? Gamers are not going to stand for that.
I don't disagree with you, but I do think when you don't have another competitor in the high performance space, console space, you can at least get away with more than you previously would have.
So I'm going to ride. Maybe I'll ride with you there. Yeah, so maybe $100, right? Where they may have been $100 less, right? When look at the PS4, Xbox One. When Xbox One came out and they were $499 and they were like $399. And it was like, then Xbox came down to $399, right? So you're right.
Exactly.
But the market does.
I don't think.
Go ahead.
No. What was your question?
My question is basically, is Sony going to step on their own foot? Are they going to hurt themselves by thinking they're the only show in town? Or do you think, no, they know better? If you want, I was talking to shout out to Nicola. He was saying on X about, I think, be prepared. It's going to be an expensive next generation. And crap, you've said this on the show a number of times too. And when you said it, it resonates with me. I don't forget what you said. And you said it months ago. If PlayStation wants to have a PlayStation 6 in everybody's home, I mean, do you think that the reason the console market is separate from the PC market is, what do we always say? Console gamers always say to PC, we don't want to spend $1,200, $1,300, $1,400. Well, if the console is now $1,400, even if it puts up good numbers, right? That's just not a normal casual buy.
You had D-Batch on, right? And he was arguing with me. He's like, no way, the PlayStation 6 will be $800. I'm like, no, they'll have some kind of version for $500, maybe $599, but they're going to have a fairly known price for the console, and they'll take a loss on it. Just like, if you look at it, this is their most successful generation. right? You got to sell these things so that you can sell your subscriptions, so you can sell your games, right? So it's all about that, and so that's what they'll do. And again, people kind of just discount that or whatever. If you come out with a PS6 at, people had a hard time upgrading now because of all the games like Fortnite and all those games still get updated on the old hardware.
That's right.
So people didn't find a reason to switch, right? And that was with a decent price point for the PS5. And now it's like you're telling me people that have a PS5 are going to up and switch to a $800 PS6, right? I don't think that they wouldn't do very well at all. I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think they're going to have a very competitive price. I think they're going to come out with something, $500-$600, and Microsoft's going to come out with something between $800 and $1,100, and they're not going to subsidize what they're doing. And that's going to be like seriously unfortunate because people are going to have to foot the bill for that. But why would Microsoft, right? They're losing money on the hardware. So what you do is you stop subsidizing it at that point, right? You say, okay, well, if you want it, you can have it, but you have to pay a premium for it, and it's you're gonna have to like pay for everything.
I would say that I could see a PS6. You may disagree with me here. I could see a PS6 reaching $700 to $800, and you might go, come on, how? If Microsoft, in fact, and I'm riding with you on half of what you said there, because you said Microsoft's going to come out between $800 and $1,100 or something like that. If they're up there in that $900,000 spot, well, $800 is still a sweet number. If you're a console gamer, well, I'm not going to pay $1,000 to Microsoft's Xbox. I'll pay $800, right? So that's where that thing that Nib was saying is without direct competition and Microsoft doing this now transition, this fork in the road. Well, what ends up happening then is
Sony wants to sell their stuff
looks
at
like a
brick and mortar
bargain.
still. You're going to go into a Walmart, you're going to go into a Costco, you're going to go into a GameStop, you're going to get a PS6, right? Xboxes aren't going to be on the shelf. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so it's like Sony wants.
The Mooch Law is Dead discussion talked about Sony following a 2 SKU strategy next generation. And he talked about there being a more baseline price SKU, like Crap is talking about, and then there being a higher end. I don't think that, and I think a lot of people jump to the belief that was going to, well, why would Sony do that? Because that would look like the Series S, Series X strategy, and that didn't work out. But I think what they're actually going to do, if they go that route, is the lower powered one will be a true PlayStation 6 in comparison to the PlayStation 5. And what they may be doing is they may be taking what would have traditionally been the PlayStation 6 Pro and launching that at the start of the generation, and that thing will be priced higher. And so you will have the same type of strategy that you have now, where you don't bifurcate your production pipeline, your development. We all know that the development effort and cost for making a pro game since last generation to this one is virtually nothing. And so I think that's the approach they're going to go with. And that PlayStation 6 Pro-ish thing will be more expensive. But I think, going back to the question you originally asked, Nib, I think where the market will balance out, let's say if there isn't an Xbox, is PlayStation will play with that price and it'll be much more elastic than it has been in the past. But what I always say is the more that price creeps up and gets to right within striking range of a decent baseline gaming PC, you're going to start causing consumers to make choices. And I know that there are people who are against PC, but my point is that when you present that to the market, some of the market is going to say, hey, if I just save up another $200 or $300, I can just get a basic gaming PC.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have that argument with themselves. And my whole point to a lot of these like questions and discussions and like, why does somebody choose product A besides, instead of product B when they walk into the stores? You don't want them asking questions, right? You want them making the no-brainer choice. So I think that's going to be the challenge for, like, if they do the PlayStation 6 Pro at the launch of the generation is, yes, playing with that price because maybe they're not challenged by Xbox, but not playing with it so much that they cause people to start making choices.
Right. My answer was going to be basically exactly that. I do think there is going to be a degree of it taking the piss, so to speak, but they're not going to completely, because at the end of the day, it will impact their bottom line, right? They have to find that balance, that the sort of equilibrium where they're taking advantage, maximizing margins and profits and whatever scalability and, penetration of the market, while also taking advantage of the fact that their competitor is faltering. But they can't push it too far because, like Logic was saying, like the PC becomes more and more viable and attractive. Right. And even alternatives like Nintendo Switch or whatever for the casuals. If like I'm buying my kid a console, maybe as the next system of Nintendo comes out, it's more performance still, and there's diminishing returns on certain games and things like that. Maybe it will start to get more ports, and there's AI upscaling and all that. So they can't like get completely complacent. That there is always going to be threats to the market, so to speak. I will also say with PlayStation in particular, while they did have the blunder with the PS3, that was more because they were trying to win the what's it called, the disc race or whatever you want to call it. They really wanted to spearhead Blu-ray, right? Because they had a big thing with the conglomerate of HD, the HD DVD or whatever what it was. So they took a calculated risk on that, and they had a hand in the production of the cell processor, right? I believe they were one of the partners with IBM on that as well. So that was kind of like mixing multiple different things together and ended up being a super high price, which didn't work out so well for them. But I do think, like, going back, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 4, even when they have been a dominant market leader, they haven't completely taken the piss. Even right now, even when Xbox is, seriously doing quite poorly and across the board, they're still actually being, even though they've put the prices up, they are still more competitive on those price increases on, things with the service and things with, whatever your SSD, your non-proprietary and all these little minor things, even Portal and things like that, they actually have relatively decent pricing of hardware. And we know from Kepler and their financials, again, the 2024-25 fiscal year report, in it they said one of the things they anticipate is more of a drop in profit, an increase in profit, because they'll be selling fewer units, right? Which tells us that the PlayStation 5 at the time of that report and what they projected was still making a loss. This was reconfirmed by Kepler, who Kepler said, as far as he's aware, PlayStation is making a slight loss on the standard PS5 and making a slight profit on the PS5 Pro, whereas Microsoft is now pricing with profit in mind. And again, that is reflected in the pricing that we see, the pricing differential with the Xbox.
It's funny you say, Nib, the reason you say this, and it just makes me, I remember when we were talking about this, and I saw it on X, I can't remember, it was many months ago, and it was when the Switch 2 pricing was announced, and I think the Switch 2 sits at $450. And they're like, how dare Nintendo do that? How could they, with what the Switch 2 is, how could they compete against the same prices at the time, right, as the PS5? And somebody said, just wait till next generation, because the Switch 2 will still be in the current state. And they're like, compared to the next generation console prices, the Switch 2 will look like a discount. You know what I mean? Like, so if we're in that $700-800, and crap, I see what you're writing in the chat. I do agree with you. Crap.
Well, listen. Here's the thing. People don't understand. They're like, no, that's going to be $700 because the PS5 Pro is that, and there's no way they're going to put it. They will, right? The PS5 Pro was something they just put it out there to see what they could do. They have the less expensive one, so they didn't really care. I mean, they didn't want to, really lose anything. They want to test the waters, see what that was like. But if you think about this, Microsoft is going for 10 million, maybe 15 million users with the next Xbox. Like, you're talking the end of consoles if Sony decides to put a $700 console out there. Maybe it'll sell better than the Xbox, sure, but selling 50 million is or whatever, or 60 million would be a huge disappointment for a PlayStation.
Yes.
Now if they put it out at a version without a disc and do it like how you could do now, just swap your disc over, your drive over, whatever.
Yep, which is what I think they'll do.
Why not do that for $4.99 or $5.99? Because you're going to get all those people that used to be on Xbox. You have a chance of doing 150 million units.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You might take a loss for a little bit, but you're going to get so much in return. So why wouldn't you do that? If they price a $700 console, man, it doesn't look good for consoles, is all I'm going to say. Because you're going to have Xbox at 10 million, maybe 15. That's like Wii U numbers, and then you're going to have PlayStation taking a shit with half of what they normally sell. Because people aren't going to upgrade that fast.
To piggyback off that.
Go ahead.
To piggyback off that, like, remember that the bulk of PlayStation's revenue is from the 30% cut that they procure for people within their ecosystem. So if they actually jeopardize and sacrifice that, if they sell 60 million or 70 million or 80 million instead of 120, 130, that's 50 million people's worth of 30% cut on every single microtransaction and you name it, season pass that they lose out on. So it's a balancing scale. Yes, you want to make a little bit more on the hardware. Maybe you can get away with a bit more, but you don't want to sacrifice your bread and butter, your actual golden goose. So they can't be too complacent and short-sighted about penny wise and missing the pound or whatever. Like, that's not what they're going to do. Again, they're still going to want to get maximum penetration. And again, from Moore's Law is Dead, the papers, the whatever he has on hardware, he did mention that one thing that is repeated in the hardware documentation for the specs and stuff that he leaked is PlayStation being cognizant of the price. He actually said they're trying to come in lower price than the PS5 Pro because PlayStation feels the adoption rate from PS4 to PS5 has been too slow because of the cost. So they really want to work towards getting the price of the next system within a level where the adoption is much quicker.
Yes.
So again, they themselves are saying they're actually still trying to work on a sensible price.
I know a lot of you are seeing what's in Logic. I'll give you and Mag the mic. I just want to say a lot of people are seeing what people say online. They're like, no way this can happen. No way this can happen. But what Crap's saying and what Nib was just kind of saying from Moore's Law is Dead and what a few others are reporting is it may be hard to kind of fathom, but it almost has to happen for the console to thrive. They will make that money up on the $30 packs and the battle passes and the skins and the different things that are going on. And they do want to make that transition from PS5 to PS6 a lot smoother and easier, where we still have people on PS4s now. But so don't think that a price point of $599 and Crap saying no to this. I do think sometimes familiarity can rear its ugly head, and what I mean by that is the $699 price. I totally ride with you on what you're saying. I wouldn't be shocked at $699, but I do agree with him that you start putting $800-900 on a shelf. I don't think you're going to get casual gamers when there's these market studies showing that the casual gamer, the everyday gamer, buys 2 games a year. 2 games a year at $70, $140, and that's the most they're buying. Are they going to go spend $800-900 on a console? I don't know if you're going to get those numbers. And Sony definitely doesn't want to go from $117 million with PS4 to they're hoping to get 120, 125 this generation to go down to 70, 80 million. It would be a catastrophe. But Logic or Mag, whoever wanted to discuss, go ahead, please.
I'm just going to say my piece real quick. There are 3 options. Sorry, Logic, you can have me, and then I'll shut up.
Go ahead,
I was going to say there's 3 options here as well. You're going to have, I think, a higher priced, more power, not a more powerful console, but all the bells and whistles console. I could still see for somewhere around the $700 range. Some maybe even $750. I doubt $750, but I'd say about $700. Something comparable to the PS5 Pro, right? In terms of its pricing and whatever else. They're going to have, and I absolutely believe this 100%. They're going to have a cheaper option. It's going to be smaller in size, no disk drive, that kind of thing. You could buy all that stuff extra, right? If you want a disk drive, you could buy it on the side or whatever else. But they're going to have an affordable, much more affordable priced console as well. The 2 SKU approach. The reason why, once again, as Nib had already said, and Game Logic had already said, their bread and butter essentially is the third party publishing, which they take their 30%, right? And they get a lot of that. And the thing is, this is the only access they have. Excuse me, the customer has only one access to the PlayStation Store. And it's through the PlayStation. They don't have it anywhere else, right? So in order to have people and continue to engage in the store, you have to get them on those consoles.
That's right.
So when people say silly things like, "Oh, it's just a piece of plastic," it's not. It's an access to their store. I've said this a million times before. People don't seem to listen, but either way, it doesn't matter. The point is that that is the only avenue to get consumers into their product. They don't have apps like going to Amazon or on PC or anything else like that. They just sell their games on PC, but there's no other store that they can access their storefront. So they need people on those consoles. However, there's a third option, and the third option is that people will retain current or previous hardware for longer periods of time. And we've seen that trend over the last generation. Like, for example, now it's 2025 and there are still tens of millions of people still playing on a PS4, and they have PS4s active upwards of 35 to 40 million people. they're still supporting games up until 2025. In the first couple of years of the generation, they're still using that bridge. If you noticed, everybody, that bridge is getting longer, right? Instead of like 6 months to a year or whatever, now it's 3 years. They're still making games that are playable on the previous console. It is 2025, gentlemen, and Black Ops 7 is still an Xbox One game.
Yes.
It looks like an Xbox One game, by the way.
Yes.
Dog water. But you see what I'm getting at compared to Battlefield, it's dog water. Review coming out tomorrow, folks.
Oh.
But either way, the point is that
That's funny.
dude, but I got to tell you, Black Ops 7 is coming out in a month, 35 days to be exact. It is still being developed for the PS4 and the Xbox One. So therefore, I think that your PS5s and your PS5 Pros will carry into at least 3 to 4 years into the next generation. However, if you want all the fancy things that Dana Carvey said in his little talk today, that you're going to have to, upgrade to that PS6. But crap is not wrong. They're also going to have to offer somewhere in the $599 range. I don't think they're going to go any lower than $599. You're nuts if you think that. But people will pay that, and they will adopt over time, especially if you're offering the software that is compelling enough to make you want to make that upgrade. And apparently, from what they're saying, I don't know if you guys saw this report, they're saying that there's a bunch of studios already working on PlayStation 6 games, and apparently the first 4 years are going to be a huge, steady cadence of AAA titles coming from the studios. So it's going to be a very exciting time. And I think you're going to get that adoption, but they're going to have to make that crossroads choice at one point halfway through next generation, saying, do we drop the price? Or do we raise the price? This is an unprecedented.
Mag,
time.
I'll give Logic the mic after this. But Mag, Mag, let me just say this. This breaks my heart, guys. All you guys in the audience know this too. I think this is going to be another problem we're going to have as consumers is Moochonomics is not necessarily that class. I'm going to have to change the curriculum and the syllabus, Mag, because I don't think we're going to have the brick and mortars out there to suffice to say, oh, I got a PS5 Pro. I'd like a PS6. Will they give us a trade-in? I think if you can find it, and shout out to GameStop, man. Listen, when I can go there, I still try to give them business. But there 2 or 3 in the area around me have closed. Now I got to drive quite far to get to one. Yeah. And that's sad. That bothers me, to be honest with you, because that's a part of history. That's we're moving into another era. But where you were getting 250... Well, Mag,
that's your best option now.
What is it? Say it again.
Private sales,
private
Facebook
sale,
Marketplace.
Yeah, but private sale. Listen,
I could still get $350 for a PS.
Absolutely,
when a PS6 comes out, $350. I can get a PS5. Sell my PS5.
Yes,
Pro.
but you got to show up at a Starbucks and you got to wear sunglasses and wear a hat halfway down your head. You know what I mean? It's just
I bring my crew with me.
Yeah, you got to look like spy versus spy. It's just I think I liked it better when I got a chance to walk into a store and go, "How you doing? I take care of my merchandise. Take a look at this. Oh yeah, oh my God, it's in great shape. Here's your $300, sir. Off of that, thank you. There, you charge us. Don't get me wrong. What you're saying is right. You're still going to be able to do that. But the Moochonomics 101, where you would go to a GameStop or a Best Buy, that's going to change. I think they're going to offer less money at those brick and mortars. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Boy, I hope I'm wrong. If the great Gaming Forte was here, we would know. But
you're not wrong, Mooch.
That's the thing, So Mag, yeah, you're right. I'm gonna have to use Marketplace, right? Logic, go ahead. I took the mic away from you, but that was just something when you were talking, Mag. I was like, that's another avenue of cash flow we used to have very simply by going to the store. We may or may not have, so that's going to be an interesting point. Logic, what were you gonna say?
Yeah,
I completely agree. Off actually before Logic get going.
Oh, Eric, you gotta go. Guys. Oh man, I'm gonna have to get Eric back on a show for another show because the Yotai segment went a little longer than I thought. Eric, I apologize.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good.
All right, Eric. Listen, I'll be in touch with you. I'll reach out to you. I know multiplayer is not your bag, but I will still reach out to you on PlayStation, and I'll get a hold of you.
All right, you got it, bro.
Thanks,
See you guys later.
Appreciate you, E.
All right, no problem, no doubt.
Logic, did me and Mag speak so long that you forgot what you were going to say?
No.
Okay.
I was but I got logged out of Twitter, which had one of my analyses or long posts that and now it's all screwed up. At any rate, I want to go back to a thing that Crap Gamer said. So Crap Gamer, and I'm not saying Crap Gamer was wrong. I just want to kind of square this up. But he said that going back to Xbox, that Xbox the only place it's making money is on its subscriptions. Xbox makes $24.5 billion in revenue. Only $5 billion of that comes from Game Pass. So, look, I mean, there's things I don't want to give too much credit for, but that means $19 billion is coming from someplace else, right? And so that's not small beans. Going back to what Mag was talking about like where they're going with hardware, and I'm not particularly bullish on this, but I just offer it as another perspective. And what I was trying to get at with the notion of the operating system, right, analogy with when he was talking about the Mooch car, is Microsoft has a very big business in Windows, and it is the platform where PC gaming takes place. It is under threat, credible threat, more credible than it's ever been before from Steam. And I think that they have a vested interest in trying to make moves in that direction to make sure that that gets locked down, because they know that they're losing in the console space. They know that they are on an unstoppable backslide. And they know that they cannot afford to have that, because regular consumers, not enterprise, regular consumers, most of them don't have a reason to have a Windows PC in their home these days, except for gaming. The general use, multi-purpose, right, personal computer has less and less relevance in the household today, because people can use a Chromebook. There's tons of mindshare from Macs. Gaming is literally where they really need to stake their primary tentpole for Windows PCs. That Xbox community, I think, is an important piece of that. My belief in what's going on Xbox from a financial perspective, when you look at the numbers and you look at the people, the Xbox fans always constantly run around and tout this 500 million MAU. And for 3 years, I think Brap and I have been pushing back and telling them MAU's not important, ARPU is. Mm-hmm. You've got 500 million MAU, you're only making 24.5 billion. PlayStation has 134 million MAU, yet they're making 31.5 billion. Do the math. Right. It's not hard. It is also not questionable. I'm not going to argue with anybody about that, because the laws of math have not changed, and they don't change just because you're an Xbox fan.
That's right.
But what I think that means is, because the ARPU is so diluted on the Xbox side, right, to the point where, like, if you spread that across all peanut butter that across all customers, your ARPU per customer is like $47, $49. It's something ridiculously low. Whereas for a PlayStation person, it's, I think, just above $250 is what I calculated. So, but what I think is, because they have so many MAU, what it means is that on Xbox, you have a very small number. I don't know what that number might be. Maybe something between 50 million and 100 million users, right? Who spend a shit ton of money, right? These are the guys who stay subscribed to Game Pass constantly, don't turn it off. They're the people who pre-ordered the Asus ROG Xbox Ally and spent the $1,000 and didn't blink an eye.
Yep.
These are the guys who run around on Twitter constantly yapping that Xbox players do buy games, because they don't get that they buy games, but the rest of the Xbox 500 million MAU don't buy games, right?
Yeah.
But I believe that type of Xbox user exists, right? There are people on Xbox, small in number, who spend a crap ton of money. So those are the people that I think Xbox needs to forklift and get moved over to PC. And Microsoft has a long cultural history of not leaving legacy consumers behind. We talk about all the things about Zune, Windows PC. You could kind of argue tablet PC, but that's not really the same thing, because there was a momentary blip in Bridge where tablet PC didn't go away. It was just super expensive, and then they carried those customers over to 2-in-1. So there are moments in time where they do hardware and then they shut hardware down. But if the operating system has been around, they tend to not leave those people behind. I don't think that they intend to leave the Xbox community behind. I think they intend to transition them over to PC. And so I think what they're going to do in this next generation is an interstitial generation, where you are going to get this micro PC that is the hybrid thing that people talk about, that's going to have the Steam store and the Xbox store. It's going to have a hardware component emulation on it that's going to allow them to get to their backwards compatible games. Crap talked about, well, how do I use my disk-based games? Well, when this thing is a micro PC and it runs Windows, not the Xbox operating system, then all you need is you just need a USB-C Blu-ray player, right? Just like you use on a regular PC. We have this comment from Moore's Law is Dead that says, when the developers were kind of in the backroom Discord talking to Xbox partner support or whatever, and are asking, hey, are we going to get an SDK for this Asus ROG Ally? They were told, no ROG Xbox Ally. No, you're not going to get an SDK. They're just PC games. So everything that works on a regular PC is going to work on this hybrid box. I think that hybrid box is going to be like 10 million in number, right? Like kind of like Crap said, right? It's going to be single digit millions. So it's not going to be high yield. It's not going to be high growth. They're not expecting to do big numbers. But what they want to do is they want to run a Surface kind of boutique business.
Yep.
And forklift those people onto that thing. And then once those people are there, tell them, hey, after this is the last hurrah, right? You can stay on this thing as long as you want because it just runs Windows and it's going to run on Windows 11 and Windows 12.
That's right.
But what you really need to do next after this is just go ahead and graduate to PC. And then those people will be carried over to PC. Then you will be able to entirely phase out the console. Then, there's room for this notion of,
that makes sense.
The Xbox platform is the cloud, whatever.
I can see that blueprint. I really can. That holds water.
Yeah. So I think that's where they're going. I think they are staying in hardware for one more generation, that it's going to be this hybrid PC, this micro PC.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're trying to retain those big whale, like big spender customers. I think there's going to be other stuff that goes along with this. I think the production pipeline, as we're seeing right now, is going to be converted over to Unreal Engine 5. They're going to get rid of proprietary studio engines because they're trying to build this low-cost workforce.
Yep.
Where you could easily get rid of your senior developers and bring in younger developers because they're all trained on UE5. You don't have to train them up on proprietary engines. And I think Game Pass, when we look at Game Pass and these price increases, I think they are going to. And I wrote this. When did I write this, Brap? Like several days ago. I just want to make sure. Yeah, I wrote this at the beginning of the month of October. And I said I expect they're going to close down more studios. That this Activision mentality is going to pervade, and they're going to only start making safe bets. Big games that are guaranteed successes, and so you're going to see smaller studios go away. You're going to see everybody convert over to UE5. The reason Game Pass prices have gone up is because they're going to increase their margin by cutting down their costs on first-party studios and procuring third-party licensed content, which already in these last few days, when you look at these 75 games a year that they're talking about, you see the things that are popping up in Game Pass now already. The shovelware type of games that are like mobile games that you would expect to see in the Nintendo eShop. That would be like $2.99.
I did kind of chuckle when they were like 75 new games. I was like, how? What kind?
Right.
Well, what kind of games? You know what I mean? Like, exactly. So I do think. So wait. So let me ask you. So if the games stay with the way that you're saying in Game Pass, more that shovelware, smaller games. With a couple of big announcements, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 times a year at most, 4 at most. Does Game Pass stick around when it gets past that next generation that you're thinking? I'm just curious. I'm just kind of picking your mind right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think over time, and this is a risk. Your question is new, so it's an in the moment theory. I think what we will, like, when those people are totally moved over to PC, I think that business model probably is best facilitated by like something that looks more like Game Pass Ultimate only.
Right? Well, the only don't get me wrong. So I see where you're going with that, but like Detzinger always says to me that like Ubisoft Plus is something we always use as an example, and I think he said Ubisoft Plus is $15 or $16 for the month, right? So he'll get like Assassin's Creed Shadows comes out, and Detzinger, you're here, you can chime in. Don't let me speak for you, but we've talked so much behind the scenes. I know he says I'll get Ubisoft Plus, I'll play it for a month, beat that game, and then I cancel my subscription. Now, if it's 15, 16, and listen, as years go on, things go up. I get it. Maybe even, Detzinger, you'd be okay with $20 a month for an Ubisoft Plus, but I don't think you would be okay with $30 a month for an Ubisoft Plus, even if it was for one. Right?
20 is fine because it's like, you look at the price of Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, if we're assuming games are going to go up to 80 at some point, which they more than likely will. I mean, they tried floating it with Outer Worlds and then decided against it, but I have a feeling that's going to come.
Yeah, it's somewhere on the table, yeah.
But then, like, if I can give 20, play a game, beat it, and subscribe, I just saved myself 60, right? That's 60 in the pocket I could go spend on another game or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a utility for me to do it. So even 20... If the game goes up to 80, 20 is still, that's still a reasonable offer for a big game. But then if they raise it to like 30, now you're kind of, it's muddy in the waters.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was logic. That was kind of where I was going with that. And I'm glad, Detzinger speaks to that portion a lot better than I do. Like, that's the one thing where you get to a certain area with monthly subscription prices, and eventually the PC market does not have the patience as the console market. The console market, like, there's things we pay the yearly subscription to play multiplayer. They're not doing that. They won't do that. They wouldn't even sign up for PSN, even if it was a free thing they just do. They're like, no, we're not doing that. So they're not. There's a threshold for PC gamers. I don't know. I'm not going to speak for them. 20. I asked that singer. 20. Is it 25? Is it 30? Like, there's going to be a point where Game Pass is either going to have to lock itself in and stay at a round number for a very long time, or if they can't sustain that logic, and like you said, if the games are stay shovelware and smaller games, and the bigger games are gone after we see this next wave of games that Xbox showed us, then yes, probably they could keep it under 20 for quite some time. But otherwise, I don't know if Game Pass survives if it doesn't have the appealing games. Because the reason Deathsinger and a lot of people say they're going to go get Ubisoft Plus is because they're going to play that next AAA banger, right? So the next AAA big game comes out, they're like, oh, I only paid $16. That's a lot better than $70. Fact, can't argue with that. But if you don't have an AC Shadows, or you don't have a big game coming out, or there isn't that, and Xbox is kind of not making those new games, and they're not making those big AAA games, then the price, even at $16, $17, may not be as welcoming in the PC storefront for the PC gamer. Pardon me.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I mean, it's definitely a challenge and definitely something they have to figure out. Where I think there's wiggle room for something to be done.
Yeah.
So first of all, where I'd agree with you, I think in general we're both heading in the direction where if all those people cross-pollinate to PC, the notion of having like these three tiers that are, to me, ridiculously confusing to the consumer. And like, just like what tier has what, it's just ridiculous. In the PC space, I agree that approach wouldn't work. And so you'd have to stuff more into the Game Pass Ultimate service to make it kind of a smorgasbord, all you can eat, one-stop shopping thing, where I don't have to think and I don't have to worry about stuff. I think the thing that lends itself to that is the people you're going to bring over are not like, and it's a small nucleus, but it's people who are not familiar with the 99 bajillion array of different choices that there are in the PC space, right? Those of us who are hardcore PC people, we're on PC because we have choice, right? And we figure out how to navigate that. But you're bringing, no offense to anybody, I'm going to use this term, but you guys are going to get flipped out. It's not intentional. You're going to bring a bunch of Luddites over, right? And you're going to need to keep them in this encapsulated space kind of within the Xbox sphere, or at least offer that to them. I won't go into detail on it tonight, but I've talked about like what I fully expect to be the type of nefarious, predatory things that Xbox does from a UI perspective with its with this Harmony UI that they're working on, of like simplifying and dumbing down Windows from an interface perspective to make it more console-like and make it easier for people. I suspect that they're going to use that to kind of manipulate you and to continue buying stuff from the Windows Store versus Steam. So the people you're bringing over are not Steam acolytes at that point, right? They're still people who are punching the easy button to consume. And so those people, you can offer a singular one tier, one t-shirt size Game Pass service that has more stuffed into it, but that allows them to not have to figure out, right, Steam in all its entirety, Epic in all its entirety, Green Man Gaming in all its entirety, Good Old Games in all its entirety, right? They're still in this kind of encapsulated space. I think my main point is I think you're going to have to do something that is much more kind of Netflix-like, where Netflix has some options, right? Like 4K and like adding family users, but in general, there's like one Netflix thing, right? There's one subscription for most of these video streaming services. Yeah. And I think that is more of the business model approach that you're going to have to take, or at least make it look more like that. And that would potentially allow Game Pass to subscribe. Or it's binary. It's you either do that or you just drop Game Pass.
Yeah. See, I think they're gonna. I think Game Pass will stick around because it'll be an option. The problem is, it's hard to encapsulate someone on PC because the options are there staring you dead in the face, and that's where I think they'll have a stay here in this store. But then, when like the Steam Winter Sale comes around, you're still gonna want to go. Let me have a look over here real quick and see what deals are going on, because you're in the land of options now. You don't have one storefront you could go to. I now have 20 different storefronts I could go to get my game, whether it be CD Keys, Fanatical, Green Man, Humble, whatever, right? The world, everything's yours there, right? So I think what they'll do is just bring them over, give them the Game Pass option, because they still want Game Pass, and they can still use the Windows Store. So I think Game Pass will still survive, because the people moving over will want to use Game Pass, because they're conditioned into using Game Pass. So I think Game Pass will still survive, and there'll be a market for it, because a whole bunch of Xbox people are coming over to PC. It's already happening.
Yeah, so, no, but it's definitely already happening. I said it last week. Whenever I turn the Xbox on, all my friends list, it's the majority of the people that I've known for a better part of a decade in the Xbox community and everything, they're all a little PC symbol right next to their names, every single one of them. I'm like, holy crap, everyone went over. So I got a couple super chats here, and then I do want to move on to another subject here. Sheffield's Fear, shout out to Sheffield. He says, Mooch, your example in this one we were talking about, I think, specs, which, by the way, Nib, get your notes ready. I do want to get into the, what is it, Project Amethyst? What was it? Amethyst. Thank you. Amethyst. We couldn't have called it Project Smith. Nonetheless. All right, hold on a second. Mooch, your example is the main reason why I ask my casual friends about tech advice. Sometimes they snap us out of the newest, latest tech bubble. And that was when we were talking about I trust the panel. I talk to these guys whenever I make a decision on a couple of games, or I'm deciding between different parts for PC, whatever I get a hold of, Dessinger, Logic, etc. Glinser says Xbox's biggest success this gen is the number of visitors to the Game Pass cancellation page. Oh, Glinser. Moonshot. I think, did I read Moonshots here already? Yes, I did read that one already. That was one where he said big promises, zero deliveries. True Witty. Oh my God, True Witty. How you been, buddy? Good to see him in a long time. PC Gaming instigates, I don't know if he says easy and simple as console. Invistas, I'm sorry. Easy and simple console. Everything here is such small text on this OBS Streamlabs. So pardon me, guys. I apologize. Brian East, appreciate the super chat. He says, I think part of the reason fewer gamers upgrade to the PS5 was because there weren't games at first which could only run on the PS5 or run significantly better there. PS6 needs that killer app. You know, we've been saying that for a long time, though, Brian. You know, we've been saying that for a very long time. Here, I bought the Switch 2 on day one, and yes, I will. You know, Donkey Kong Bonanza was a fun little thing to kind of goof around with a bit, but yeah, you need to have that killer app when you're going to have a big console release like that. I really do think that the PS6 needs to come out swinging and have something on that system that proves that its existence is necessary. Dante 61680, he says, if third party come to the Switch 2, Resident Evil 9, for an example, Sony will keep the price down. Also, Sony is competing with people's time, and the development of new handheld proves that Sony sees the big Nintendo began as a competition. So, yeah, they do see Nintendo as competition because that's a thing, right? I mean, like the handheld market exploded for Nintendo. Everyone has short-term memory too, guys. Remember when everybody was making fun of Nintendo when they were like, the rumors were like, it's only going to be a handheld. They're like, uh-oh. I mean, I don't blame some of the people for being negative on that because, I mean, the Wii U with the handheld really wasn't the...
Well, I mean, to be honest, though, Mooch, if you're looking into their most successful consoles are the handhelds, right? The Game Boy Advance.
That's right.
DS.
3DS, yeah.
Like, their most successful consoles are their handhelds. So it is in their DNA, and yes, you can, and yes, PlayStation could enter that market, but you're never going to beat Nintendo in that market. Nintendo owns it.
Yeah,
you will never match them because all their games are designed around being like you look at them and go, yeah, but they're not really graphically impressive. Yeah, but they're cheap to make. They sell a shit ton. Like the return on investment is god tier.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
And all their studios are designed around making these games specifically for the Switch. So they have a whole setup where PlayStation, even if they release a handheld, they wouldn't just design their games. They have to make cutbacks to make it run on the handheld.
Yep.
So the main console would suffer.
Well, I mean that's possible. I mean it depends. That's one of the Brap. What are you thinking, Brap? I hear a little bit of thought process going on up there from the coach. What's up, Coach?
I know we're getting ready to talk about Project. Now I forgot it, Mooch. Project. What'd you call it?
Amethyst.
Amethyst. Project Amethyst. You know, it's interesting because we always hear that the cup's the cup's full. console space isn't growing.
Right.
And then we see Mark Cerny and this partnership with AMD, and they're talking about the PlayStation 6.
Great point.
And companies don't like losing money.
No, they don't.
And so why are they investing in a PlayStation 6 in this partnership with AMD? Right.
That's all I heard was console. I mean, yes, AMD was definitely categorizing PC, but there was a big console push in that.
There was a console push. And so why are they having this partnership if the console space is dying, not growing? Why waste your time?
Right.
Because they're planning on putting it on phones and tablets, which is the only place where kids are going to want to play in the future.
Yes, and my kids, and to that point, Logic, my kids will be eating McDonald's when they're adults too, because that's what they eat right now.
Great,
and riding bicycles to work.
Great.
Right. No, but I think like people need to think about these things. It's like, companies don't like losing money. Why is Mark Cerny? Why are the engineers at Sony and AMD? Yeah. Why are they working together to create a PlayStation 6 if there's no market, or
there's no market there, right? It's dying. Yeah,
it's dead. It's full. Yeah. It's like, guys, like, there's a reason for it, right? And so, at a very elementary level, you should understand that, right? Before making,
Brap, you make a great point with the McDonald's reference, because that's one of the things we heard on the show and we were hearing on podcasts for the last 5 years of why Microsoft's idea was so sound. But all the kids are on iPads. I got news for you. When we first, it was 2020, right, Brap? We were talking on this show, and we said, oh, well, my kids were younger, your kids were younger, they're all on iPads. That's not the case anymore. They're not on iPads playing anymore. Now they're literally on console. And they made the move over. I mean, they're older now. So it's like, my point being is that's interesting, right, Brad? Because that is just it's a normal shift. Your McDonald's reference was great. My little kids, the kids are eating McDonald's every day. That doesn't mean they're going to be eating McDonald's for 3 square meal when they're in their 40s or 30s, right?
That's the point. And then Logic and I were joking about it. I don't know if it was you, Logic, who brought up the McDonald's.
That's very good. It's true.
But no, it's like,
I think yours is McDonald's. I say the bicycles and 25-inch TVs.
Yeah,
right. They ride bicycles now, so of course they'll be riding bicycles instead of buying cars. Right? They watch 25-inch TVs now, so of course there's no market and no interest in large screen.
Yeah, who wants to
trash them all? It's almost like we're saying our kids are never going to grow up. They're never going to be professionals or have disposable income of their own or want nicer things. I mean, I don't know about you, Mooch, but my tastes have changed considerably as an adult than a child or a teenager. And even 100%. As a young adult.
Even a young adult.
What I liked when I was 21, 25, and 30 has certainly changed.
Agreed.
The young age of 48. So
that's correct.
I mean, like it's a weird thing. It's a weird narrative, and I just like poking fun of it because I find it to be I don't know, dumb.
Well, we said this, and Logic, your example with the TVs is spot on too. I remember saying that. I said, Brad, I'm sure you remember this crap. We were having this conversation on the show. It was years and years ago, and I said, you're telling me that when you have someone who's like 10 or 13, when they become 27 or 30, they don't want to come home after a long day's work. They're going to pull up their iPad and they're going to play the 700 hours of Witcher 3 on their iPad or Witcher 4. No, they're going to be playing on a 65, 70-inch TV. I understand some people are going to be playing on a 27-inch monitor. I got it. This is not a PC thing. I respect that. But a lot of people will also be playing in their family rooms with their feet up on the coffee table with an adult beverage looking at a 65, 75-inch television. It just goes to show that that's the natural progression. It's the reason that a lot of people at home right now, you see people on Twitter all day. They'll go, Mooch, you're wrong. And then 2 days from now, they'll be like, look at my new LG 75-inch, bro. And I'm like, what? You just said that's not your thing. I thought you were gonna play Wolverine on your iPad. Come on. What are we talking about? So yeah, I mean, you guys make some great references there. That's really something because it's true. It's evolution.
It's funny. We had Doc Dark on, and I think his son or something was in the background. I'm like, Doc, ask your son when he's 40 years old if he's going to be playing Roblox. And so he asked his son.
Yeah,
and his son's like, no,
nope.
I mean,
right. He's right. Like that'd be weird.
Yeah, I think he did say that. I think he said that would be weird.
Yeah, I was there, Brap, when he asked that.
Oh yeah, you were there, Mag.
Yeah, I was there.
So Brap, one additional thing I want to throw out because we had this additional data set that came out this week, right? It's like this is like the 5th data set like this that has come out that consistently obliterates these narratives. right? And I can't bring the chart up on the screen, but on PC, right? Baby boomers 27%, Gen X 44%, millennials 63%, Gen Z 68%.
Wow.
Right? As each progressive generation, like younger generation, they're playing on PC more and more and more and more. For console, 14% baby boomers, Gen X 36%, millennials 54%, Gen Z 58%. These guys with this narrative constantly run around and say younger generations are playing on these devices less. And I'm like, no, it's the exact opposite. Yeah. These guys play on PC and console more than our generation.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you guys are doing this to try and corroborate the Xbox strategy and prop it up as the one that's successful and the one that's like attuned to like future demographics and data. And I'm like, no, the data that comes out from the industry analysts, right, from the analytical companies shows that is not the trend. You guys are and I also always ask them, show me the data that says that this is happening. And what I always get back is crickets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or cope and seethe.
Or that.
You're in your feelings over exclusives.
Or that. So Nib, you said wait till later to get into it, but let's talk a little bit about Mark Cerny and Jack. Is it Hooney? I don't know if I'm saying. I think I'm saying it right. Was it?
I can't remember.
Anyways,
he nailed the Dana Carvey thing, though.
He did. Funny. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think we did a church lady skit on MNC, Meg. I'm not sure. You might remember better than I do. I don't remember.
I was actually. It's funny. I was watching that today. I'm like, he looks like someone, and I couldn't remember.
Dana Carvey from
Carvey.
Like,
oh, there it is.
Dana Carvey as church lady, but sometimes with a sprinkle of Bob Ross.
Well, the Bob Ross is that soothing voice. That soothing voice. Yes, it's very
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's only ridiculous because I didn't understand what he was saying. So,
well, a lot of people are googling Mark Cerny, or not Mark Cerny. Pardon me, Dana Carvey. They don't know who Dana Carvey is. So,
you just aged yourself.
Aging ourselves for sure.
The calming voice, right?
It is.
Cerny.
It's very ASMR.
Yes.
He's been charged to sing like lullabies or something.
To be honest, I would want Mark Cerny to read me a bedtime story.
That's
a little creepy.
He should open a tech. He should open a tech ASMR channel.
You
know what I mean? Like the ASMR and like whisper with the oversensitive microphones doing this sound. Going,
okay, so tonight
can you imagine how much Cerny would make? Cerny would make millions off that, yo. People would sub to him.
Oh my
gosh!
Can
you imagine audiobooks by Cerny? I reckon that's a shout.
ASMR by Cerny on Twitch.
I love it. I love it.
Man, people have made money from weirder things, selling farts and all sorts.
Bathwater.
That's a great point.
Bathwater, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, bathwater.
Somebody made a lot of money selling bathwater, by the way.
I know,
really. Some influencer.
So
what that thing a little while ago, and they're like, "Oh, so sweet," and then you like feed them like there's that girl.
Oh my god!
Oh, so juicy, sweet.
Nib after hours, folks. It's starting. It happens right around the 9:30 mark in New York.
The producer Timberland spent $50,000 on her in one day.
Wow!
Did he really?
Just feeding her different fucking digital items.
Oh my gosh!
Must be nice.
All right, Mooch, back on track.
Yes, back on track. Thank you, Death Singer.
I got a question for Nib, Mooch. I don't mean to do that.
Nib, that's all right. Go ahead.
Sleep? Do you ever sleep?
He naps.
Yes, not very much. I intermittently. I probably sleep like 5 hours a day.
That's fair.
I'll just get like a few hours here, a few hours.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I said this. I maybe now a little bit more than I used to. 5 definitely. You go back 5-10 years ago, I was doing 5. Probably 6 hours of sleep. Like honestly, when people say you need 8, like 8's. I wake up at 8. I feel like I came out of a coma. Like it's too much.
8 hours.
You know what I mean?
Kids, it's impossible. I wake up every 3 hours, no matter what.
Yeah,
Mags.
So it's like on the weekend or something. Like I will have one day where I'll end up sleeping in, and my wife just leaves me. She doesn't bother me, and that day is like my refresh day. And I know people say you can't catch up on sleep, but it's like my body is saying, well, you need at least one day where you have a solid amount of rest, and then the other. Anyway,
that's fair.
But but on to the Amethyst stuff. I mean, I wouldn't say there's a whole lot to say about it. Like, it is an exciting partnership, and like I remember, like I was in spaces on X and stuff, and people are saying, "Oh, ever going to get path tracing on the next console stuff?" And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure that is what they're going to target because we're hitting the point of diminishing returns on the asset quality of games, right? And especially when you compare it to the art time, because having super high fidelity textures and geometry and all of this stuff and worlds is one thing.
Yes.
Having the artists with the time and money to actually painstakingly, because as the detail goes up, so does the time investment, right? So I don't think that is where the biggest gains are in terms of graphical jumps, let's just say. I think the reason they're so focused on ray tracing and path tracing is I think they believe that is going to be the kind of next thing. So yeah, hearing them multiple times talk about path tracing, awesome to me. I would have liked for a world where path tracing was the default, especially for exclusives on PlayStation, where they don't have to design, as I said before, they don't have to design, baked lighting and manually do all of that stuff, and they could just have path tracing from the offset. But I don't think that is going to happen because there's a PlayStation handheld. I think that will kind of have the ability to have that, and probably the PS6 Orion or whatever will just have path tracing options, which is still cool. It's still going to be a big jump, right, over what now, but it's not the big jump. But yeah, so what do they discuss? Three main things, three main development, which is neural arrays. Basically, the way they are doing models is just a more advanced and efficient way of doing it. So instead of the CUs doing their own tasks and stuff and their own ML calculations, or having a separate block that does it, now the CUs can work in tandem and they can share and process the same data, which should improve basically the AI algorithm side of things, and just make it more efficient and fewer bottlenecks in that area. Then they said radiance cores. So they were saying basically with path tracing, ray traversal is one of the most complex or difficult parts of the process of path tracing. And they've kind of designed a dedicated hardware block which specializes in ray traversal to assist in that. And that has, in their simulations, led to significantly faster ray tracing performance, which is cool. Like that's one of the areas, AMD has kind of been behind on behind NVIDIA for a while now, and all the rumors and all the sort of leaks about the hardware data, the kind of projections that we're getting from Moore's Law is dead from the leaks is that most of the significant gains are not in raster with the PS6 Orion and Magnus. It's actually in ray tracing. So maybe the raster performance, I think he quoted like 2 to 3 times the raster performance of PS5 Orion, PS6, whereas the ray tracing performance was like 6 to 12 times or something, much, much higher, which is cool. Again, the raster rendering side of things, you can have one thing, but then you could turn on the path tracing and have more advanced ray tracing features. That would be excellent. Real time, and so many of the baked lighting issues that we have in games now would be eradicated.
How much of this change, though, Nib? How much of this change is hardware versus software in this R&D?
So let me look. I think it sounds like most of this is hardware. To be fair,
two of the three advancements are software. One of them is hardware. But I think one of the key things that still is significant about that is, remember, the earliest description of Amethyst, the earlier description of Amethyst, was that it was entirely a software effort. So it's very interesting that these radiance cores are dedicated hardware transistors dedicated to handling lighting, right? Essentially ray tracing. And that's something that's going into the PlayStation SoC. I assume that there's going to be transference of that to their PC component APUs as well. And that may very well also mean that they will come into handhelds, both the PlayStation 1 as well as maybe PC-based ones as well. But I thought that was the most interesting thing that stuck out to me, that there's now a hardware implementation piece of this Project Amethyst.
Does this logic, in your opinion, affect, is this, I mean, part of this is, of course, the benefits that Nib just mentioned and what you were just saying. Does this maybe help drive the price point down for a PS6 moving forward?
That's really tough to say, because I mean the R&D has to be paid for.
Exactly.
Right?
And honestly, thank you for saying that because you backed me up. Shout out to Nicola again. I was talking to Nick earlier on X, and I said, the R&D money is not going to be. This isn't free. The money that they put into it and the money that's going to go in. So it's going to cost a lot. But I mean, if it ultimately is 2/3 software based. As you get further into the PS6, they can save money by not having that extra hardware in the box. Maybe that's something at the end they're doing their returns on it and saying, well, this is something we can actually get a lower price or make more money on the box.
Well, the thing is, though, they're co-developing it, right? So whereas obviously it's always more expensive to hire a third party to do all of the R versus doing some of it in-house. In-house always costs, right? So theoretically, they are co-developing this and doing a lot of the R&D themselves, like alongside AMD. So maybe that could do some of the costs. In terms of the neural arrays, the reason I thought some of it could be hardware related is because he specifically says they're not linking all the CUs together with the GPU as a 1 mega unit. They're only doing the CUs together on the CU block, right? And the reason I thought maybe it is hardware because he said, look, we'd have linking or cable management issues. Obviously, he was being facetious, not literally cables, but the way the dies interconnect. But I was thinking maybe the way the CU connected to each other will have a hardware variance versus what we have today. But I don't know. Maybe Game Logic could speak on that. But yeah.
I think that's sort of kind of true, and I mean, and just means a slightly different inflection, right? In the way that Mooch posed the question, in terms of like a new tangible object thing that's being delivered, I think the Radiance cores are that. I agree that what I think, and like super guessing and super speculating, I think what the neural arrays means is what you said, Nib, which means is that normally you would have microelectronic interconnects on the IC that go from that interconnect all of these compute units. And so let's just pick a really crazy round number, like 360, right? Normally you would have 360 of those, and now you're going to have 250. And yes, that will cause a variance in the lithography process, in the fabrication process, in what these things look like. Maybe that helps with cost, maybe it doesn't, because maybe those are chips that are not part of their main line, and depending on how many are developed, right, maybe it makes one of them more expensive, right, to make the variant with fewer interconnects versus maybe. But I think my thing is, whether they're sharing the costs or whatever, my point is 360, right, the bill comes due. And so whatever the cost is to either one of them, some degree of it winds up getting amortized, right, across the hardware and the chips and the transfer costs and all that kind of wickedness. At the end of the day, I don't think that it makes like a huge difference one way or the other. I think at the end of the day, we're still kind of where, Mag and Crap, we're kind of circling the wagons around this notion that there will probably be a lower priced unit that's $599, right, $499, $599, whatever, and then if Moore's law is dead is correct, then you're going to have a higher price SKU that is something more like a PS6 Pro that's probably $700 or upwards of that.
I did find one specific line he said in the video where he was saying it would again, I'm paraphrasing, I haven't memorized the video, I've only watched it twice, but he basically said something along the line it would significantly outperform the sticker price, which is music to my ears, and that's kind of what you want to hear, because essentially what he's implying is the cost will may be sensible, but the actual performance of it or may not be. Either way, the performance of it is going to be far greater than what the price would entail, which is, again, that's kind of what Moore's law has also been hinting at, right? Like they really want, and it also ties into another point here about how the new functions and features or whatever, they also reduce the TP, the power draw of the unit. So all of that, like if you have a power efficient console, a smaller console, 3nm process with a monolithic as well, and then all these other additional features which maybe can reduce the amount of hardware complexity, whatever, and then you have a more sensible price, lower cost efficiency, less cooling required, because obviously if it's less thermal output, it's smaller, etc. maybe you could actually get into the point where it's not such a crazy high price device like some of the, all of us are some of us are fearing. So I don't know. It's promising to me, like hearing this stuff.
It was
kind of everything.
And like you said a moment ago when I asked you a question, you said it's still quite early on. There wasn't a whole lot to extract from this 8-minute sit down. But at the same time, it was very encouraging. And honestly, if you're in our world and you're discussing games and keeping your ear to the industry, these are the types of 8-minute videos. I don't want that to be 2 hours long. But to see that they're working on this, and Detzinger, do you want to get a turn here? Because Detzinger, you said some really, the audience, you guys, put your seatbelt on. Detzinger was actually making some very nice comments towards the console. That, of course, end up paying dividends for the PC as well. But Detzinger, what was your take on this whole thing?
All right, so basically, I boiled it down to what they were talking about is essentially a lot of the features that the 50 series, the Blackwell architecture has right now for NVIDIA. The PS6, in my opinion, will be that'll be the level you're looking at. 50 series card power. Because bear in mind, a lot of the
which 50 series card though, because that's a huge distinction.
I'd say they reckon in about 5090, but I'd say 5080 to be on the safe side. Right?
Moore's Law pointed at 5080. Yeah.
Yeah, 5080, which is what I thought.
Yeah, he said the ray tracing performance would be 5090. But raster performance would be closer to 50.
Yeah, because if you look at it, like the neural rendering technology, obviously DLSS, and obviously they have hardware and software ability. So obviously you have the tensor cores, which deal with obviously the AI, which is DLSS, etc. But then you also have the ray tracing cores, which will deal with the ray tracing. But from like the advanced ray reconstruction, frame generation, all the stuff they have now, that's what I'm thinking of when I think PS6. And from what they said, I think it's AMD's 50 series. Essentially, it's going to be, we have all this neural rendering, we have all these extra features which will help boost the game. Now, obviously, PC we'd probably be on like the 70 series card by the time.
Exactly. Before you console guys start running around waving your terrible towels, we will be on 7,000 series cards by then. So calm down.
He said we.
Yeah.
There's the tribalistic game logic coming out.
Right?
No, but it's like...
He's like putting you console peasants in your place.
The thing is, it's like you'll have the 50 series performance. Now, that being the baseline for game development, with all the path tracing, ray tracing, all this AI technology, that benefits us on the 70 series card, because now the baseline for games uses all this technology. Because if you look at it now, all the stuff that you could do on the PC on my 50 series card, most of that isn't on console. So when they design a game, you add the stuff afterwards. But games can be built with path tracing in mind, with full ray tracing in mind. So this will be of nothing but a benefit. So the console getting better makes PC games better, because the games then will use all the features that we have now. Naturally, so everyone should champion that them use a 50 series, because 50 series baseline, that's really nice for game development, because now you could do a whole load of shit that you couldn't do before. And bear in mind, it's not about resolution and all that, but it's about having AI being able to increase performance and being able to, like, for example, it's now you have with the 50 series, you have like path traced hair, you can have path traced skin on character models. Like, these are features that are in the NVIDIA RTX kit. They have like neural shaders, all the stuff that they have now. So it makes sense, and I'm glad AMD are catching up, because AMD need to give NVIDIA competition in the ray tracing area, because at the moment they are behind. So this should be good news. So you should celebrate it, because this would be nothing but a benefit to PC gamers, but also console gamers, because you'll have a vastly upgraded experience.
Yeah, and I mean, and I don't.
That was my takeaway. Like,
no, that's it's a good takeaway, Detzinger. It's funny. A couple of people, when you guys were laughing about the 70 series, C Fresh goes, "Yeah, $4,000 GPU. Cheers." So he was like,
nobody on PC is bothered by that. We pay what we need to.
Well,
just like I paid for my 5080.
That's true. This is true. But I do like to say over on this show, I always say, Logic, we is the PC gaming community that we talk in our bubble. I have a lot of PC gamers that are hanging out with me in my office all the time. They only have PC. And they're still, one of them's holding on to their 2070 Super. He goes, the games I play on here, he goes, if you're a PC gamer, one of the rules is I upgrade when the game I love to play no longer is playable with my card. So he's one of those guys. So I don't think he'll buy a 50 series. I don't know if he'll get into the 60 series, to be honest with you. Who knows what they're doing? But yeah, so there is a price differential there as well. But I do find that funny. We're in this bubble where like 5080s and 5090s are like household names, right? On all these podcasts we all do and we listen to. But like, if you actually just walk down any office you work at or talk to someone who's a PC gamer, a lot of them will have a 3070, or they'll have a 2080 Ti still they're rocking, So
yeah, but also remember though, by the time the 70 series comes out, the 50 series will be cheap. Like,
right?
You think about it, like you look at the price of the 20.
That's right.
20 series when the 40 series came out.
The only question,
you were like, 2020 was actually reasonable. You're like, yo, this is actually a reasonable price finally.
Right.
And like AMD does the same thing. So naturally, these people running on their 3060s or whatever,
yep.
By the time the 70 series comes out, they'll be able to get 5060s or whatever have you. So
yeah. The only thing you have to do is you just have to be. I mean, at that point though, Destiny, you tell me if I'm wrong here, but you'll have to buy that on the used market.
Oh no, you'll probably be able to get it off like Amazon or whatever, because I was looking at the price of what 30 series cards are at now, and they're actually at a reasonable price.
You can get a brand new 3080 or 3090 right now.
I don't even know if they're selling them anymore.
Well, that was my question. That's my question.
I think my concern would be like, so I have multiple gaming PCs. The low end is an RTX 3080 Ti, and then I scale up to the high end of an RTX 5080. So that RTX 3080 Ti is hitting games that it's being where it's being challenged, right? Where I have to go in and dork around with settings. Now, granted, I'm not trying to get 60 frames per second. I'm trying to get 144 or 165 frames per second, right? So, but there are games that are coming out that are being challenged, and I would say one of the things that concerns me a little bit when they talk about that performance, and I understand like that all of the AI ML stuff is going to lend to efficiencies, which should make the boat go faster. But the RTX 5080 is a 16 gigabyte card. Yes, it is a 16 gigabyte GDDR7 card, but it's still 16 gigabytes. And those people that are users like you mentioned, Mooch, maybe they're not being impacted because of the games that they play, but the rest of the market is being impacted because the baseline for software development, for game development that people are really targeting is a 16 gigabyte VRAM GPU, because that's what the Xbox Series X and PS5 are on.
Mm-hmm.
So my only concern about some of the stuff that we heard today is I was hoping to get something better than a 16 gigabyte VRAM GPU in the consoles next time around. So that would help lift the floor of what's happening on PC gaming. Because look, I know that the Series S is a problem, and I don't want to give the Series S as a pass, but in recent months, I've been pushing this thing of we say that the Series S that's holding back gaming, but it's really 8 gigabyte GPUs on PCs that are holding back gaming.
Yeah,
because
the leaks though are much higher. The leaks are talking about 30 odd gigs or something. 30.
Okay, that's good. That's good then.
Yeah. I think they said the handheld would be 20 something to 32, and that the PS6 Orion is targeting 40, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Yeah, I think the only things that I saw here that now that piece has been answered. The only thing that gives me not necessarily misgivings, but things to keep an eye on is in the neural arrays where they talk about each of them working separately. That's the full implementation of that has to be one of two things. Either it's handled on the firmware side, where some piece of abstraction between the game code and what is happening on the card handles the fact that these workloads now get distributed across the CUs, or that has to be coded at the game level. If it has to be coded at the game level, not saying that's going to be a problem, but that just means that more SDKs, other things that developers have to do. If it's taken care of for the developers, that's fine. It also gives me greater assurance, because one of the things with talking about doing a distributed workload like this, there's got to be something that is orchestrating those tasks between the now separated CUs. And so with orchestration, that can sometimes be good, but it also creates a point of failure where if orchestration gets out of sync, then you can have things like game crashes or other problems, bugs and defects that crop there. So I'd be interested to just kind of hear what implementation is done to help with that. You can parallel up orchestrators. You can have multiple orchestrators. So I would be a little bit interested to kind of hear how that's going down, but like all of you guys said, like I see tons of positive upside from the way this is heading, and it's great to hear that they're investing in it.
So, question for you PCMR people:
with the 40 gigabyte, how much? Because obviously it's unified memory on console, because they don't do VRAM and RAM separately. So I wonder what's the allocation for what would be RAM and what would be the VRAM, because that would be 10.
True. But it is getting smaller and smaller though. The Pro, it's actually less than it is on the PS5, but they do have a DDR block now for some of it on the PS5 Pro, which is why it doesn't use as much of the.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're going to come up with some interesting ways of doing it. And we need AMD to do this also, because AMD will push this technology into their graphics cards for PC, which and then would hopefully give NVIDIA a run for its money. So finally, we have competition for NVIDIA. So NVIDIA will then feel the pressure and might have to start reducing their prices, hopefully. Let's all cross our fingers.
My question to you guys, as you guys main primary PC, it's if the base console, let's just pretend the handheld doesn't exist for a second. If the base console was games designed around path tracing as a default, or at least most games, obviously not all games will, do you think the difference between high-end there would be more diminishing returns? Because obviously path tracing is that's like the end goal kind of thing with lighting. Obviously there's more types of things to do, but that would be already a significant uplift over the kind of lighting features and whatever technology today. So do you think PC high-end rigs will still offer the kind of dramatic gains that you can get, or do you think there's going to start closing the gaps in terms of real-world differences?
I think that personally, I think because now they're going to more try and tackle, because path tracing's already a done thing, right? So that they're going to. Thing is, there are other things to improve. Like if you look at an open world game, sure, path tracing helps out a lot. But even Cyberpunk, you look at it, there's a whole lot that could still be improved. Like you can improve shaders, you can improve shadows, you can improve textures, you can improve blades of grass, just immersion in the game. Eventually, you're gonna want literally a living, breathing world at some point. Where you can have actual real time of day, night cycle, everything moving, the clouds, the blades of grass, everything is running and looking pristine. Now, obviously, we're nowhere near that yet, to perfect realism. But I think the gap will always be there, because now they're getting into the territory of how far we push AI, because we've already pushed it this far. Now they're doing AI on textures, shaders, compression, shadows. They're doing it on hair and skin for characters now. How long until you start? They're doing heavy materials in the game. So how long till you have a fully path traced character? Because you still don't have that yet. Fully path traced main character. It's just the lighting at the moment. So you want all the everything to be path traced. So there's still a lot of room.
But I'm not saying obviously there will always be a gap. That's the inherent nature of physics. But what I'm asking is, do you think the gap will start closing or be larger than it is today?
I don't think he'll close. I think he'll just stay the same.
Mm.
I just because obviously consoles will now get to where we are today, but by the time the consoles get to where we are today, PC would have already moved on from where we are today. So I think it's just going to be a never-ending cycle of that, where it's always a game of catch-up, but every time the consoles catch up, it's better for everybody. So the sooner the consoles catch up, the better. So
yeah, no. I again, I don't disagree with that. But the thing is, obviously, even on consoles between generations, you can see the returns are getting diminished, right?
In graphics,
yeah, because I would say, like, for example, like the biggest difference I can think of this generation from PC to console, at least like off the top of my head that I experienced myself, is like Cyberpunk path tracing versus Cyberpunk.
That's probably the best example,
consoles.
Neb. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like, but think about it.
I was just saying this to that singer before you joined in the pre-show. I said the exact same thing. I said the diminishing returns as we go further and further.
Yeah.
There's only so much that the PC will outshine as we move further and further. Will it outshine? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because I'm thinking, obviously, if the baseline is path tracing, where do you go from there? Yes, you can have like higher this, higher that, but remember, path tracing is again the peak of lighting, and then you maybe have geometry, distance, blah blah blah, asset quality, textures, things like that. But then I kind of feel like that may not show as much of a difference thing like path tracing versus non-path tracing, and then it kind of boils down to just higher frame rates and things like that. So I'm really interested to see how next generation.
I was literally saying the same. Me and Detzinger had this conversation 2.5 hours ago. Exactly.
To that point, though, it's like path tracing, when that becomes the baseline, because it's not going to come the baseline anytime soon. But it's like, bear in mind, path tracing does a lot more than just lighting. Like, there's a lot more things. Like, only just now are people like path tracing hair and skin, right? There's still a whole bunch of stuff that you still need to do. Path tracing's nowhere near done. Like, path tracing has just started on its journey of being fleshed out. So,
right.
Yeah. So path tracing is where it's at, but then also game engines are going to get better, which is then going to push immersion. It's going to push simulation aspects.
There's too many variables. Right.
Like so, you're not pushing resolution, but you can make it more immersive. You can make everything more. Look, the graphics can still be improved because it's like, are these textures really as good as they could be? No. Are these shadows as good as they could be? Nowhere near. Is the grass and the trees in an open world? Like, you look at Yote and you look at the open world and you're like, this is good, but
keep in mind though, with path tracing, you get physically accurate shadows. So in terms of shadows, reflection, I think
the main thing is we're talking about graphic technologies that we know today.
Right.
I was the boat is constantly moving. Like ray tracing and path tracing has been the discussion for the last handful of years.
That's today, right?
Before that, it was anti-aliasing. Before that, it was ambient occlusion. Before that, it was normal mapping. Before that, it was shading. Before that, it was Z buffering, texture mapping, vector. Right. So the boat's always moving.
Right.
So. And I think what Detzinger is getting at is, and kind of what Mooch said too, right? The difference, the delta between PC and console is always going to be this, and this is what happens on PC. PC is always going to be brute force. And that line is going to keep moving, and we solve problems on PC by just making them not problems, right? We don't do it elegantly. We just throw crap tons of memory and power because there's things we don't care about. We don't care about cooling because people have 360 millimeter AIOs, right? And so what will happen on console is the elegance will be improved, the optimization will be improved, the end result will be improved, and this is a whole convergence of like engines and what developers focus on. And what we're experiencing on PC now, unfortunately, is that we have a lot of these UE5 games. We have a very strong footprint in consoles, so we have instances where games come out that are better on console than they are on PC. How does PC surmount that problem? Sometimes very often with just brute force, right? You throw a crap ton of stuff at it, and therefore you get 78 frames per second in Monster Hunter Wilds, right? But on console, you're getting 60 frames per second, and so despite the $2 or $3 grand extra that is in my PC, I'm only getting 15 to 18 extra frames per second, and that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But that's not because of the raw compute. that's because of the engine and where developers' focus is. So all these things are going to converge and land in a place that is always going to yield PC being an optimal formula, an optimal solution for people who don't want to spend a ton of money, don't care about a lot of the things that you can get done on PC. But the boat is going to keep moving. There's going to be something that comes after ray tracing. I'm absolutely assured that NVIDIA is going to want to have something that differentiates its products besides just RTX. Another part of this that's huge with the stuff that we're talking about today is right now today, we don't know how much further this stuff is going on from the PlayStation baseline, right? Some of it's going to filter into AMD's core products, but like in terms of the talk today, we don't know what. And so we don't know. AMD open sources its stuff, NVIDIA does not. So there's a good chance that stuff that we saw today is eventually going to get open source, get wrapped into FSR5, is going to be handed off to like game developers, and everybody's going to be able to use it. But there's other things like AMD's market footprint that says, despite the fact that AMD does that, sometimes you don't have developers pick it up and use it. And that's one of the reasons why I said like an important inflection point of this is whether or not AMD is putting the smarts for this on the end of the GPU with the firmware so that the developers don't have to worry about it. Because sometimes when AMD hands stuff to people and says, this is open source, you can use it, developers still don't use it because they target their level of effort and the number of labor hours they have in their budget on the NVIDIA stuff. So it's a really huge miasma of a problem that I don't know has like a decent definitive answer. But yes, absolutely assuredly, what's going to happen is when the console comes out, it's gonna take a long stride and close the gap, so to speak, with PC. But then as the generation goes on, right, that PC lead is going to start flipping back towards the PC side, right? By brute force, by the introduction of new technologies, and by the investment that the card makers are making.
I think it's key that you say that we're talking about everything that we know in the now, right now, and it has progressed so much through those various different evolutions through PC, right, that you had mentioned already, Logic. So I think this is a conversation that will continue. It was nice to see what we did see, to see that they are invoking that into the future of console. I think that's a big push. If you're a console fan, you should be enthusiastic. I think if you're a PC fan, you kind of have to look at it the way Logic and Deathinger were saying, where it still will pay dividends to the PC gamer at the end of the day.
You have to look at it enthusiastically regardless of whether it pays dividends in the game development side.
Well, that's true. We're not even talking about it from the developer standpoint. That's true.
I was on about, like, we need competition we need someone, like, the competition for NVIDIA is desperately needed, because NVIDIA can get away with the bullshit they're doing, because who is going to beat them in ray tracing? AMD is nowhere near. DLSS is superior to FSR. Granted, the gap is closed with FSR4, but DLSS still has the heads up on it. And like rasterization, you can have the argument.
Yeah,
AMD outperforms, but as soon as you flick on that ray tracing, it flips the other way. And so we need AMD to be there. And consoles gain the benefit, PC gamers gain the benefit. So everyone should be happy that they're talking about this. This video exists, and they're telling you this technology they're working on. Yes, NVIDIA already has this technology, but we need AMD to get it. We need the consoles to get it. And then we also need better engines, because Unreal Engine 5 right now, like, they were, as I explained when Borderlands 4 released, right? How am I getting I'm running Cyberpunk with path tracing, right? I'm getting the same frames I'm getting on Borderlands 4. Borderlands 4 is nowhere near the graphic fidelity or whatever path trace Cyberpunk is. These two things should not be the same. So, people need to. First of all, they need to improve Unreal Engine. I don't know what Epic is doing, or what it's like. It is partly on the developers, because they're probably like Epic came out. The Epic CEO Tim Sweeney came out and said, "Oh, it's the developers' fault why the games are coming out like crap." And I'm like, well, yeah, it is partly on them, but it's also partly on your engine, because your engine's kind of dog shit. So, hopefully stuff improves down the line. But it's nothing but a good thing. So if anyone's out there saying, oh, PlayStation this and that, it's just a good thing. It's Xbox is
for all gamers in general. Yeah. Keep in mind, this Amethyst project is not exclusive to PlayStation.
Yes.
It's open. The technology will go to other things. Yeah.
It will go to Xbox. Xbox could utilize this technology because they're both on AMD. Like, they can have the Radiance cores. They can have the neural rendering, the neural rays. Like, So this is just
actually to that point. That another thing. Actually, he said in a few years time, the new console, right? Does that, because the rumors were it's coming in 2027, but the more and more like 28. I'm thinking 28, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because it gives them time to develop this technology, which makes sense. Like, they have the update next year for FSR 4 on the PlayStation, which will improve. That'll improve things a lot. Having actually a good sampling system, AI upscaling. So, hopefully, I mean, it's, but don't expect the PS6 in, like, 2027. It's not going to happen. The Xbox will come out before the PS6. If I'm guessing,
I will say, you mentioned FSR, right? And they're making, like, I'll be honest, unless I'm like pixel peeping, like via Digital Foundry or back and forth, like between the two, as in Transformer DLSS4 versus FSR. I personally think FSR4 good enough, it's competent enough. Like, I think like it's such a stride over 3. So the fact that they're still developing that stuff and they're improving further, I'm thinking, what the hell, man? Because genuinely, if on consoles I would never get better than FSR4, I would personally become that's more adequate. So it's an interesting thing.
So
I know.
Go ahead.
But we also need the developers to utilize it. So that's another thing. Like, hopefully, a lot of the developers actually utilize it properly, and that'll be another thing, because I guarantee you some third-party devs will still not use that shit.
So I was hoping to kind of get to this topic while we had a few more folks here, but Mac had to leave him back. But listen, this topic is going to be evolving, so it's not that we can get into the what-ifs and the whataboutism as the weeks continue. I did want to talk to you guys about Battlefield 6 real quick, because it's launching, I believe, in 2 hours. So there's a lot of talk about this. First of all, is anybody on the panel getting it besides me?
Absolutely.
Death Singer,
yes. I've already got it pre-ordered, but I won't be playing it.
I've already got it preloaded on Steam.
Why will you not be playing it, Nip?
Because I'm too addicted to your take.
Oh my god!
I won't be getting in.
Look, I might jump on to play with a few games with you guys, but I prefer not to kind of, because again, this is quite demanding in terms of muscle memory and story immersion.
First of all, the muscle memory is a thing, and if people don't realize that, try doing what I'm doing and playing 2 or 3 at the same time. You go, especially going between Silent Hill F's mechanics and Yotai, completely different. So, anyways,
no, exactly.
I will say this. So, all right, let's talk about it a little bit. Has Battlefield 6? It's apparently sold you guys. Logic, I didn't hear your answer. Is this something you're picking up too, or it's not your bag?
No, it's not my bag.
That's fair.
Not now. I'm just last few months I've been getting out of gas, so
that's all right. I completely understand that. You don't have to sell me on that one. I usually avoid. I used to be one of those ones that I wasn't a huge Battlefield fan, but I will say that Call of Duty has done such a rinse and repeat that even though I prefer Call of Duty generally, I'm actually pretty damn excited for tomorrow to get here. Just because I want that. I just want more from my first-person war hero shooter FPS. I want more, and Battlefield seemingly is going to give you all of that. They're going back to their roots. I think the last time Battlefield 4 that I enjoyed personally was Battlefield 4, and that was 2013. I don't know. You guys correct my math. 2014,
something like that. It was 2014, I think.
Yeah, and like they did a lot of things right. It launched a little bit broken, I think, in 2014 when it launched, but they fixed that, and people were playing the shit out of that. I played it for a while. This game, I really think I'm going to give a real chance to, and the reason I'm really kind of leaning in towards it, and I think it's important to note for you guys, is not only does the multiplayer look phenomenal, but the Battle Royale looks pretty damn good, and it's only been leaked. I've only seen leaked footage. I haven't even seen them present it in the way that they want it put forth. I did hear a leaked rumor that the Battle Royale, would be coming out in late October. I no longer believe that. I think it's probably sometime early next year, unless somebody can correct me. But yeah, I do think that Battlefield is going to take a dominant stance this year against Call of Duty. I'm not going to be one of those arrogant people that says it's going to beat Call of Duty. But do you guys think it has the...
To that point, do you see how fast COD have backpedaled?
Yes.
On a lot of this shit they were peddling.
Yes.
They are scared shitless of Battlefield 6. Like
their skill-based matchmaking is gone. They've wiped it.
And no disbanded lobbies. And you notice, right?
That's right.
Before Battlefield 6 was shown off, right? They were like, "Oh, we're too big to fail. We're perfectly fine." Battlefield 6, whatever. Battlefield 6 showed up. These boys, they shit a brick in that office, and they were like, "No," and they immediately push this stuff out, and it's so funny because people said, "Oh, Battlefield is this and that," and it's like, yeah, you saw how quick COD turned around on their stances about stuff.
That is it.
It's better. No skill-based matchmaking for COD. No disbanding lobbies. I mean, these are good shit. I mean, they're still doing some shitty shit, like no carryover for stuff, which people try to paint out as a good thing. Like all your skins and stuff don't carry over, which is kind of stupid, but whatever. That's just a COD thing. But on Battlefield, Battlefield has returned to form. Like this is the Battlefield we remember. The Battlefield 3, the Battlefield 4.
So how do they move? So Detzinger, how do they move forward with this? And Nib, if you want to chime in too, how do they move forward with this? Is this going to be something like, we have Black Ops 6 and now we have 7. But like my point being is what's the whole deal with this? Is what happens next year is my question. We're not going to get Battlefield 6.5. What are we going to get to have the continuation? Is it just going to be maps through 6?
I think you might get that next year, right? Because with the purchase of EA, one of the things that's been rumored is that the intention for Battlefield 6 and why they so vastly expanded that team to where they're now a 1,500 plus developer team is that the intention is to make this right, which was done in preparation to sweeten the deal, right, for this acquisition, is the notion that this will become an annualized series with the monetization that goes along with that. I mean, I'll just say that that's a possibility. I don't know that that's sure that that's going to happen, but it's possible that that's what all the momentum has been behind, and will be pushed now by the new owners of EA.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, thing is with Battlefield, it's never going to be a COD. You're never going to get one every so often. So what they're going to do is just release DLC. Bear in mind, they already released, like, Operation Firestorm is coming back, but they have a whole catalog of beloved maps that they can dip into, and they'll probably just constantly update it until the next one's ready.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll release, like, different map packs. So, like, they'll bring back, like, Operation, I don't know, whatever. They'll bring back Oman.
Okay, so Detzinger, you love conversation like this. Shout out to Brian East. Brian East says, Mooch, ABK's playbook is to create some crazy weekend deal to get gamers to come back to COD over this weekend to dampen BF6 active. I said, how? He goes, free skins, custom updates, maybe a free weekend. Do you see Detzinger, because you love, do you see them being petty like that?
No. They're not gonna. COD is in a place right now where they're too comfortable. I don't see them doing it because they'll try and do it, but there's so much hype behind the Battlefield. You're not really gonna lure people over. Bear in mind, COD has a bunch of controversy. They've had it for months now, where a lot of the main COD players I see on X, who really love COD, who play nothing but COD, they were on the sideline going, well, this is shitty. This is shit. Why are you doing this? Fuck you. And then now Battlefield's come out. They've switched their tune, but I think it's too late. I think they're not going to be able to dampen it.
Yeah.
What they're going to do is they're going to let it release now. They're going to wait till COD actually officially releases. Then they're going to try and do something to get the players over. So when it first releases...
Okay, that's fair.
They might do quad XP weekend or... double XP weekend, double weapon XP.
Well, you know what they did? I don't know I know you guys aren't big, Warzone, Call of Duty, and I get that. That's fine. But so you know what they did about a month ago? They were like, thank you so much for sticking with us, blah, 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 blah. They gave, Battle Pass coins. They gave 20. They just gave 20 coins out to up you through the Battle Pass and get a lot more of the, whatever it is. It's skins, it's gun camos, it's like emo type things that you can put as, it's your calling cards It's things like that. But like they just gave that away as a thanks for sticking around. I think you're right, that Senior. They might do something big when Black Ops 7 comes out.
And that was their playbook earlier this year. Every time X Defiant tried to do something, right? It was hilarious that every time X Defiant was trying to make a move, suddenly it would be a free, right, double XP. It would be some type of free weekend, double XP weekend, extended double XP weekend.
Yeah.
It was just great. They were back-to-back double XP weekends, which I was just like, I mean, remember when they used to do, they split the double XP weekend so that you got like weapon XP and level XP one weekend, and then they would slap another weekend on it where you got battle pass XP, and they did all that. I think they did it. It was too frequently around X Defiant, and they were just hammering X Defiant, hammering X Defiant, hammering X Defiant, right, which helped just kind of, I mean, X Defiant failed on its own, right? But the COD stuff didn't help, certainly.
But that's the thing. They won't be able to pull the same stunt they did with Battlefield, because Battlefield already has a lot of hype around it. Tons of people are ready to play it, and COD has already soured a lot of the player base because they were selling you all these skins like Beavis and Butthead and whatnot, and then they turned around and told you, "Oh, by the way, that shit ain't carrying over. You kissed all those skins you bought goodbye."
Isn't that crazy? So wait, did they backtrack on that?
Oh no! You're still not taking your shit over. No, that Beavis and Butthead skin you bought.
So I can't bring my Rick Grimes character over. There goes that.
I think a lot of that is because Black Ops 6 doesn't have that new shiny on it, right? Like it did earlier this year. We know they're about to put this thing out to pasture, and so yeah, I completely agree with you that they've lost that moxie where they could do stuff like that, and they're going to have to wait until Black Ops 7 comes out. My big question with the Call of Duty pipeline is, this is the third time, right, that they've had to crowbar in a dev team, out of sequel, out of cycle,
yes.
So they had Treyarch go back to back, then they jammed Sledgehammer in there, right, on a shortened dev cycle.
Yeah.
Now they're bringing Treyarch back again.
It always seems like, and I don't know the inner workings of this, but Logic, just to ride with you here, Infinity Ward seems to be the one that needs the most time generally.
So my big question is like, look, you had, and I was super impressed, right? And quite honestly, the Call of Duty production pipeline release train, in my mind, very much kind of set the template, granted in video games, that the MCU is wired around. Right? Like the way the MCU pipeline and railroad track was able to be laid down, because the word on the street is that all the visual effects studios in Hollywood, like there's tons of them now, all wired tightly into the MCU thing under like heavy threat of like, you guys can't miss dates. Because if you guys miss dates, it knocks the whole MCU right off the train track. And so I look at that now back at Call of Duty, and I'm like, okay, when you're by yourself and you don't have all the Microsoft like crap around you and all the Game Pass stuff, and you screw stuff up, I was always super impressed by the way they were able to crowbar and ratchet, right? But I'm like, but now that you're in the Microsoft corporate veil, and maybe regardless, I'm like, how many times can you do that though before you start getting the syncopated rhythm and this oscillation to the point where, like, you get to where the Assassin's Creed series was with Ubisoft, right? And you have to call a timeout, right? And take a year off and do a reset and try and, quite frankly, get your shit back together. Like, I feel like we're I just don't know how many more cycles they can do that, right?
Well,
if we don't see the ship righting itself here on the next release.
So I completely agree with you, and I'll total line with you there. I think that the main reason here, this is their way of having their cake and eat it too, right? So they're going to have Treyarch double down, basically just use very, very similar, same assets, make a couple of new maps, revitalize some old maps, right? So this is going to get us past this one. I think they did this with Black Ops. Was it Black Ops 4? They did this as well. And my point being is this is their stopgap here, so it gives the other team enough time to make that new one that'll probably be next generation. Oh, next year. We got to stop saying that. This generation only, because I think if I'm not wrong, I think Black Ops 7 is on PS4 and Xbox One as well. Is that right? Or did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
right?
new Black Ops. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Battlefield 6 is going full steam ahead on this generation only. So,
which is the smart play.
Of course it
look
is.
at it, you can tell. You could tell. Look at Black Ops 7 and then look at Battlefield 6. Like, you can clearly see it. And, like, the thing with COD is their pipeline is really weird right now. And I know they came out and said we're too big to fail. But I think at a point, they're not going to fail ever because Warzone is more popular than COD anyway. Like, if you look where all the player base is, some people play the multiplayer of Black Ops 7, but most people will be in Warzone, right? That's where most people are going to be. So I could see that just remaining, and it's really weird right now, the dynamic, because we needed Battlefield back, because Battlefield was, always second fiddle to COD.
Really do need it back, though, for sure.
And, 2042 wasn't the best foot forward. There was mistakes were made. You could say that.
Yes, they were.
Right. Mistakes were made.
Mistakes were made.
And they learned from it. And I could see they've learned from it, because you look at Battlefield 6, and then you look at this, 2042, and you're like, okay, good. You righted the ship. Congratulations, round of applause. So, hopefully, this Battlefield will now make COD better. Push them to actually be better. Hopefully, I mean, we can hope, but I mean, if the next COD after Black Ops 7 comes out next year, and it's still just the same shit they're feeding you, I don't know how long you could keep that up, because eventually people are gonna be like, "What are we doing here?" And especially if you're selling skins, and you're not letting them carry over, like Fortnite and stuff works because your skins are always there, right? Even when they updated Fortnite, it's like, oh yeah, your skins are here. We moved to Unreal Engine 5, your skins are everything's still here. It's constant thing. So they need to let everything you buy in Black Ops 7 carry over, because if they do that again, and they try and sell you Nicki Minaj, Snoop Dogg, and Beavis and Butthead, and Homer, right? And they sell you this shit, and they still don't. Like, people ain't gonna buy this stuff anymore, because you're buying a skin for a year and then the shit's gone.
I didn't spend a tremendous amount by no means, but
but some people do.
Yeah, no, they do, and it kind of. I gotta be honest with you, that kind of sucks. That's what I was gonna say. Like, I mean, I probably bought, like I said, I bought the Black Noir skin, I bought the Rick Grimes, but that Rick Grimes was an in-game one. That wasn't even $20. That was probably, I think it's like 1,100 in game currency, which you earned if you just did battle passes. So, and battle passes I don't really pay for, because if I play the battle passes, I beat them all. So then you get, like, I don't know, you get more than the 1,100 coins you need to get the next one. So if you play the game, if you paid for a battle pass, for those of you that don't play this, and then you played through the battle pass, you have enough COD points, CP points, to buy the next battle pass. So I always get the next battle pass. I wouldn't call it on the house, but it's on the house. It's house money that they give you in there. So, yeah, I mean, but it sucks, because now those players, those characters don't get to come with, and it sucks in a sense. Now, I'll defend the two that I have, because they're fairly, they're not Beavis and Butthead, but it is what it is. So, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, first of all, how would you want to play a strategic game where you're supposed to be stealth, sneaking around? Even if you're going guns blazing, you don't want to be walking around looking like a 25-foot, like, cartoon character. So I never understood that quite frankly. But so let me do this, guys. I don't want to cut it short, but we're getting close to the 3-hour mark here, and I think we're just past it. And guys, I can't believe it. We're over it. And let me tell you something. Shout out to Andy Hart. He says, Mooch, your Giants are on fire. I just looked. The Giants are beating the Eagles. Now, listen, there's a lot left of the game. I didn't think that was even possible. So, I mean, I'm going to go see what that is before I have work in the morning. But nonetheless, I want to say thanks to everybody that's here. Shout out also to the great Donnell Brown. He goes, let's go Dodgers. I don't want to hear it, Donnell. Okay, me and you will go back and forth again when my Mets are back out there. But you guys are probably going to win the NL title at least. I don't know what's going to happen for the World Series. But nonetheless, good luck to your Dodgers, by the way, Donnell. Great podcast, guys. I'm going to cut it here just because I want to go check out a little bit of the game. We're over 3 hours, so I apologize. And, shout out to Mark, who was here earlier. Mark says to me in the chat, he goes, Mooch, sometimes you put, something on the topics list there as far as the name of the show, and he goes, sometimes you don't get to it. He wanted to hear a little bit more about Battlefield 6. I actually wanted to kind of integrate when Nib was getting into Ghost of Yotei. I wanted to get into Battlefield next, actually. Yeah. And Nib, the only reason...
I will just say...
Go ahead. I was just saying, I wanted to. The reason I didn't was because I knew I had Mag, and I knew I only had crap for a certain period of time, and those guys really wanted to talk about the Xbox news over the past week. So I just was trying to get everything in there. So I apologize, Mark. I try to hit all of the topics. I really, really do. But go ahead, Nib.
Yeah, no, the thing with Mark, like, I do think the Battlefield conversation, though, is going to be better once we played it for a little bit, because obviously it's pre-release. There's only so much about besides the beta. But I did find it funny how even in Battlefield 6 marketing, they are poking fun at Call of Duty. I don't know if you guys saw the trailer.
I did see it.
Yeah, they have, like, the celebrities.
Nib, explain to me. So the poke, because I watched it. They're like, oh my God, they're making fun of Call of Duty. So I watched it. Yeah. And yes, of course, I realized when they had the celebrities and they were doing the slow motion. I think Black Ops did it with the Rolling Stones. And this one here, they chose a different song. But it was similar in the sense of what they're trying to get the message across. Was that the jab?
Yeah, so the jab was basically a couple of Call of Duty adverts in the past. The theme has been like, you be the soldier, but it's been celebrities running around, like iJustine and stuff like that, even like not necessarily celebrities. And they're like killing each other, but it's very jovial and, like it's not very military. It's like, oh, we're running around. And then this YouTuber shoots another guy and then a sniper rifle. And that was the theme of their marketing campaign. So Battlefield is like they kind of started the campaign in the ilk of Call of Duty, but then they kill them all and they're like, nah, no one gives a shit about them. We want serious game. So it's them essentially once again tying back to this whole, Beavis and Butthead and all the rest. They're essentially saying, look, if you want an unserious military shooter, you play this. Right. If you want a serious military shooter,
you play our game.
You play Battlefield 6. So I did think, like, from a marketing perspective, a superb advert and amazing production and everything like that. I don't know how much they paid for it. It's probably, but it had a bit of edginess to it as well. But I am super excited for Battlefield. And even though I said, like, I probably won't play it, I will play. Let's be honest. Like, I'll see everyone on it, and I'm just because ever since the beta, I've been dying to get back in. I was so addicted to that shit. Like, it's insane. So yeah, it'll be really interesting.
I'm going to try to pull you off of Ghost of Yota just for like 4 or 5 matches this weekend, Nib.
And I'll play more than that. All it is not. I won't play this weekend because I'm not going to be.
Oh, that's right. You're going to the party. That's right. Right.
Yeah. Let's see what happens with that.
No pictures allowed at that.
No, but like being as sad as I am, I actually would love to sneak my Portal and just play on the side, like while everyone, doing their thing. I'll be playing Ghost of Yota in the corner. Be like, Nib, what are you doing? I'll be like, I just got some important work to do.
Yeah, exactly. So Detsinger, before I want to ask you a question, Detsinger. Shout out to the Gaming Grindhouse. Jez7780 just sent me something on Twitter. He must be listening to the show. He says, I'll see you on the battlefield, Mooch. Shout out to Jez. Detsinger, my question for you is, where are you picking this game up?
I mean, is that even a question?
Well, it is a question because now is it Steam and anywhere else on PC?
Oh, I'm picking up on Steam because this is a game you need to own. This isn't a single-player game, right? See, that's where I make the distinction. Like, let's say I'd use the EA app.
I was going to say, doesn't EA does have a service, though, right? And they have a storefront.
It does, but
that's why I asked the question.
Like, for example, Jedi Survivor, right? That's an EA app game because it's just a one and done.
Yeah.
You're in, you're out. Who cares? Whereas Battlefield, I'm going to be playing this for as long as I can. We're talking all next year and whatnot, assuming GTA 6 doesn't come out at 60 FPS. But then, of course it's something owned. Like, multiplayer I'd always own. Now, the only reason I don't really care about Call of Duty, so I always play it through Game Pass, because I'm stacked on it anyway. So I'm like, I'll just play Call of Duty through Game Pass. And I would say, I'll wait for a sale. COD games never go on fucking. You look at the Steam sales, COD games never go on sale. Like those bitches stay there, and I'm like, what are you doing, Activision?
Yeah, I don't know why you're not wrong on that, man.
Like, I looked at it, right. Black Ops 2 is still $50. How are you charging that for that? How is Black Ops 2 still that?
I know.
Really?
Yeah,
That's why physical is king, man, because you can buy that shit on computer exchange for like £2 or £5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is a benefit to it, but it's like, COD will, I'll play Black Ops 7 through Game Pass for 2 months and then get bored of it. Like, I played Black Ops 6, it was fun, but then everyone I know who I was playing with on PC just stopped playing it, and I just stopped playing it, and it's like, well, yeah, this is fun, but whatever. Now, Battlefield 6 obviously has what it has, so yeah, of course, I'm going to play it on PC. Maximum frame rate. I'm going to drop everything down to low.
Well, I know that the question,
all the settings off.
The question from the top level sounded ridiculous, right? You're like, where do you think I'm going to play? I knew you were not going to play it on your Xbox Series. My point being was, I just didn't know if you were going to do EA or if you were going to do Steam.
I don't think we're going to be playing together then, because I'm turning that fucking PC crossplay off.
Hey man, I don't mind that. Because
that shit was, as soon as I turned it off in the beta, my experience was significantly better.
The thing is, I want it on because it's so easy to snipe. You know when you're playing against console players, it's like Fortnite on PC, right? Fortnite on PC, right? You go load into a game. I don't know if anyone's noticed this. If you play Fortnite on PC, right? You load into a game and you know who's on console because their reaction times are a bit slower. Like you pop up behind them, and you know if you're playing someone against PC because they instantly snap around and start firefighting you. But if you roll up on the console guy, it takes him a second to turn around and fight you. And you're like, oh, you're on console. Oh, you're dead. You're on console, sir.
Oh my god.
And especially in Battlefield, because Battlefield, sniping is a big thing. There's like bullet drop and whatnot. And nothing will beat a mouse in a sniping match. So I'm going to be just sat in the back with a sniper, and I'll be like, hey, that guy's on console. Let's have a sniping match, mate.
My goal right now is to play the hell out of Battlefield 6. It's just going to pull me a little bit away from Yotai. I'm sorry, Dib. And then I want to stream. I definitely want to see if we can get shout out to my buddy James. Hopefully he's listening. He said he was going to be. He's taking a road trip this weekend, so he said hopefully be back by Monday. We get some streaming, and I would like to stream that game too because that'll be fun as hell. I think it'll be an audience for that. For like, I think Death Singer just said it. It's going to be an audience for the ages. It'll be around at least till I always gauge how great a Call of Duty is, Battlefield, by February of next year. You're probably going, what in the world are you talking about? If that game is still relevant by February, the game's got legs. I think the fact that a battle royale is going to be paired with Battlefield 6 really gives this thing legs, just like Warzone did for all the multiplayer maps and all that, because I would continue to play all the maps because I wanted to keep leveling up guns, and they nerf guns and they buff and they go back and they went forth. So you take a gun that you really didn't use, you had to go back in and level it up. It's all you keep playing the game, which is fine. But I think Battlefield's going to do something similar. Maybe they'll do something a little bit more user friendly. I'm not saying they're going to copy Call of Duty word for word and play for play, but I really do think that if it makes it to February, this game's got legs. And I do agree with you. We need the competition. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. I got the fourth quarter of the Giants game. Oh, go ahead, Netzinger. I'm sorry.
What incredible time for gaming, though. We're so spoiled, guys.
Oh my god, we're insanely spoiled. This is nuts.
2025 is as that picture I showed to Mooch about 2025 from Opera, my browser. That they got it correct on Battlefield 4, not you. But yeah, it's like this year is fantastic for gaming, and I just wanted to say, please, my console friends, everyone in the chat, can you keep crossplay on, please? Because I need to increase my KDA.
Oh, he hold on, Mooch. Don't end the show yet. I've got a jab. I got to hit at the audience real quick. Thanks, Death Singer. That's always great. Well, Death Singer loves getting the audience.
How about this? Yeah, because what you're saying is you want to bring a gun to a knife fight, right? How about you jump on console and let's see how you fare?
Oh.
Well, that funny thing is, I played Battlefield 3 and 4 on console, and they still had a cracked PDA.
Come back home, Death Singer. Come back home.
Yeah, I'm saying no. Put your money where your mouth is. Let's go.
Come back
Let's
home.
go. We'll do 1v1 if you want.
I can't because I have PC is my place to play now. I enjoy my frame rate. 140
So what you're saying is You need the extra nitrous oxide. You need all the benefits. You need the extra kitted out turbo. You can't.
No,
You need those
I realized after playing Fortnite, I was like,
yeah.
huh. So this
You
is
know
the
what this
benefit.
reminds me of? It's really funny. Like, sorry to go on a tangent. I was with a mate of mine the other day, right? And he's got an AMG as well, but he spent like a significant amount of money. He's put like a stage 3 map on it. He's got new this, new that, whatever. Like, and he really wanted to race me. I was like, yeah, cool, whenever. Like, let's race. I haven't done nothing. It's a stock car. And then I think we were driving up. I don't know if it was London, Coventry, anyway, one of the motorways, and we're like pinning it the whole way, like both of us, one after the other. 3, 2, 1, boom. We're like racing each other all the way down. The whole time we're like neck and neck. It was like out of a movie. We weren't even 1 inch ahead or behind, like the side by side the entire time, every time, which was crazy. I was like, this dude spent thousands of pounds and he's getting the same performance as me in this slightly bigger car. But and then I remember I was with the boys and I brought it up. Like, oh yeah, Ruby, like what happened with your 3,000-4,000? Tell him the results of the races. And he was so burnt. It reminds me of Dessinger right now. Like, he needs the mouse and keyboard, he needs the extra frame rates, he needs all this other stuff, and I'll probably still beat him.
That's honestly, you know what? I would say this. Let's get into a match. We'll do a private match.
Yeah.
And you turn it on just so we get that singer in the room and we play. And I want to see this. I want to see this KD match.
Could you imagine if us console snubs, we actually beat the PC elites?
Might end up beating Death Singer.
Well, here's the thing: is like half the time on Battlefield, because the thing is, like, I don't trust people to fly helicopters or planes. So most of the time, I'm the guy flying the helicopter, and the rest of the squad jumps in the helicopter. Because obviously, if you've ever piloted helicopters in Battlefield, you would understand. There's a trick to it. It's not plug and play when you try and fly them. And jets, it's hilarious when you see noobs getting
Hold on
jets.
a second. That's like wait, before, because I want to ask you guys a question. Is it worth pre-ordering and getting it before midnight, or no, it doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter.
There's nothing did they throw anything at you guys? Nib, you said you pre-ordered it.
Did you I pre-ordered it digitally. I don't think I got the deluxe, just the regular. I don't know if there's early access or anything like that, but no, they officially released.
Not early access. I didn't know if they had anything else that was worth the purchasing it before tomorrow.
Okay, yeah.
Is there anything?
No, not
did you get anything?
I mean, I remember when I checked, I didn't think it was all that. But then again, don't go by me because obviously I knew the week I was going to be away.
Early access.
Okay, I didn't I haven't even purchased it yet. I was going to wait till tomorrow, but then I was like, maybe if I grab it tonight, I'll get something. But then I'm like, I'm not doing the deluxe edition either. I'm just doing regular. So
it might give you like a weekend experience buff or something. I can't remember.
Oh, okay, all right. What Detzinger, are you getting the deluxe edition or regular?
Regular.
Okay, regular. So me too. All right, so we're all on the same page. All right, good.
Let me just see what you get.
Yeah, take a look and let me know, Nib. Honestly, because if it's worth it, I'll just jump over.
Have you bought the regular version or have you not?
I haven't bought anything yet.
Here's what the deluxe version comes with: a Battlefield Pro token, whatever the hell that is. A Phantom pack, Phantom Squad, 4 soldier skins, 2 weapon packages, melee knife skin, vehicle skin, weapon sticker, weapon charm, dog tag. Yeah, Phantom XP boost set. Yeah, you do get a XP boost set.
Yeah. Is it how much is the deluxe version versus the standard?
It is not much.
Standard 70. Is it $10 more or 20?
Oh, it's not saying the price on here. Hold on.
There's no price on there
yeah. What are you buying on PS4, by the way?
I'm buying on. I'm going to end up double dipping. I'm buying on PS5 and I'm buying on PC.
Oh damn!
Well, I buy the same thing I did with
$100. I think
it's the same thing I did with Call of Duty. Same thing. I have it on PC and I have it on PS5.
Yeah. So standard edition is 70, and then the next one up is Phantom edition, which is 100.
Yeah, because I was looking on CD Keys. Shout out to CD Keys. Currently, they got the Phantom edition. instead of 100, it's 70, and then
snap! That's good.
Yeah. So like, I think I might go for the Phantom Edition because at that point, you're not paying 100, you're at 70, so it's 30% off. So at
that's
that
not
point,
bad.
Wait a minute. So what do you do on CD keys? There's the Phantom pack.
Phantom Edition.
Yeah. So CD keys discounted like digital codes. So if you are going to get the PC version, definitely get it on CD keys. And he's saying you can just get the Phantom Edition for the same price as the regular version.
Death Singer, send me the link, please. Because I'm going to pick it up on PS5 because me, my son, other people, they want to play. So we play on PS5, and then
I would say, Mooch, if you buy the PS5 version, I don't know what it's like in the States, but in the UK, there's always sites that, including CD keys, that sell PSN digital vouchers for discounts. So I got 20% off the game.
Okay. So you bought you bought a voucher. The voucher was like
20% off.
You got a $100 voucher for $80.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, yes, that's actually a great idea. Do you know where do you find those, Nib? I never even look for those.
CD keys.
Oh, those are on CD keys as well. Oh,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
CD keys. Another website, Eneba, ENEBA. But I think CD keys is probably your best.
Maybe I'll do that. I'll do that for the PlayStation as well. Then thank you for that.
To be honest, you can get them off there. You can also get them off G2A. I mean, there's a ton of sites that you can use.
Yeah, you can get them off eBay as well. Actually,
the thing is, it's always worth shopping around because some of the discounts will be different. So it's like a lot of them are the same, but some of them might be different. So it's always worth having a quick look around. But it's like that's why if I buy any deluxe editions, I buy them off CD keys because it comes to the same price as the standard edition, but I get the deluxe instead. It was the whole thing with like Dying Light and Elden Ring, right? I managed to get Dying Light Deluxe and Elden Ring Deluxe, and you save so much across the board. So it's probably, if you're buying it on PC, pick it up through there. Don't you can buy it through Steam if you want. If you just want to save a bit of money.
Yeah, but if you do it on CD keys, it's still a Steam code.
Well, yeah, it's still the same thing. You just redeem it, and even have the Xbox version on this. So if you're an Xbox guy in the chat and you're picking up Battlefield 6 on Xbox, they got that on there too. The key for
Look at this dude. This guy called In Your Comments, right?
Yeah.
Impatient Fire.
Yes.
My KD on the beta on consoles is 3.8. I can hold my own on consoles. Okay, I tell you what. Let's get Impatient Fire against Death Singer, and let's see. Let's see the
Impatient Fire.
Let's watch that on stream.
I mean, to be fair, the matchup's just going to be a sniper battle, right? Maybe across the map. Okay, cool.
Come on, Fire. DM Mooch your details, and let's get you to on a stream. That'll be funny.
That's great.
The thing is, though, like Battlefield is so topsy-turvy that I never really actually get into like major firefights like that, because as soon as I spawn in, it's like, yo, where are we going? Okay, we're going over there. Bet, everyone jump in the helicopter, let's go. And then I'll fly the helicopter and everyone will be in there, and you just fly around the map. Or I love driving tanks, I love vehicles. See, that's the thing Battlefield always had over COD, was you could drive tanks, you could fly helicopters, jets.
I know everyone likes that, and there's when you have a team with you that's playing your friends, that's a lot of fun. But like a lot of times with COD, the reason I liked it so much is I have, sometimes you have a half an hour, 45 minutes, and you just drop in and you can play, and you can, as Impatient Fire says, you can hold your own. If you just drop in and play in a big match of Battlefield, you're kind of lost. You're just running around and you're dying.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. The bigger matches, I was getting bullied, especially when I first started, because I was just like, what is going on, bro? Like, I'm getting shot from every which way on Sunday. Like,
same here.
It's like, where do I look? Where do I go? Like, someone's sniping me, someone's shooting me.
You need a team, Nib. You need a team of people with you. It's not, you can't.
You do. You need to be organized. Yeah.
You don't really need a team. You can play it solo. The thing about Battlefield is understanding the map. It's like you could generally tell. It's like, well, snipers are generally going to be up high because that's where you want to be, on top of buildings and whatnot. So when I'm running around on the ground, I'm avoiding like long lines of sight, so like long corridors. Because if there's a long corridor, a sniper could just sit up there and farm you all day. So I'm just like, okay, I'm not going down that road. I'll run around this way. So this is where tactical thinking comes in, and it's more strategy than COD, because you can't just run and gun everywhere.
Absolutely.
Because you just get bullied.
I gotta say, I did more of the small map modes, and by the end, I was actually doing really well. It's like, you know, when you get into that flow where you can just run around killing people like constantly instead of having to respawn and respawn. You know, I got into that flow state. But the bigger maps, that is difficult, because if your team hits the bucket, it's bad. Like, you know, and then you get into that. They're respawning in, but the enemy knows where you're spawning into, and then
I gotta be honest with you, though, even though some of that stuff you're saying is true, Nib, I will say this: I am looking forward to this weekend, because there's nothing like when you turn on the console and you see, or PC, you turn on your friends, you see all the friends playing Battlefield, and you just jump into a lobby. It's fantastic, man.
The thing is, it's like, I like the big maps, because like Gulf of Oman on Battlefield 4, right? And if you're on the US side, you spawn on the aircraft carrier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Russians are in the actual city.
Mm-hmm.
And the best thing is having a sniper battle. You lie down on the aircraft carrier with your sniper rifle, and you could see the glints all along the top of the city. All these people are on top of all the buildings, and you just have a sniper battle. You're on the aircraft carrier, they're in the city, and it is the most fun ever. It sounds boring, but it takes so much skill, because you have to get the bullet drop right. And when you headshot someone, and then you get a rage message in the chat, or you get a DM afterwards, it's like, fuck yourself.
I gotta say, one of the things, I'm not a Battlefield guy, I'm a Call of Duty guy. Well, I'm not really even a Call of Duty guy, but I've played Warzone the most and Apex Legends the most, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't played Battlefield for a number of years. So jumping back in, I will say, like, off the bat, it's like you forget how much of like a technical and production jump it is over a Call of Duty.
Oh my god, it's damn
and
nice.
It has this almost like high production action movie cinema feel to it, where you literally do feel like you're in the middle of a movie sometimes, because I'll be like hiding up on some building, sniping and shooting people down, and when they know I'm there, they're firing rockets. The whole building is blowing up around me, and I'm surviving by the skin of my teeth. Like, literally, the ground is falling, the walls. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on?
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm using Battlefield, the multiplayer, as the prerequisite for their Battle Royale. I'm just hearing, I'm telling you, just from people I know, I'm hearing unbelievable things about this Battle Royale. Now, will it live up to it? Guys, don't quote me. I didn't play it. I have no idea. But I've seen some leaked footage of it, and it's legit, and it looks very good. And the reason I interrupted you, Nib, is only because when you said the sound and the buildings absolutely being demolished, it is so real. And then, you know, when you take that into a war, when you take that into a battle royale, where your the intensity, your what's the word I'm looking for? Just everything's on high alert. Your entire body. That, you know what I mean. You when you get down to like the final 10 and you're still going. I don't care how good you are or not. Like, your blood's pumping, your heart's beating fast, and to have that with a realistic scenario surrounding you with sound,
and also
crazy.
Buildings won't protect you, vehicles won't protect you, like nothing will protect you, because people will just be like, "Oh, I'll blow."
In like Warzone, you can hide behind a rock, and they can throw everything in the world at you, and you're safe.
In there, like a Battlefield Battle Royale, it just sounds so peak. Because it's just going to be, you land, and most of the time in Battle Royale, I want to land in the building, right? Because then I could go around farm loot, and I got protection from all sides. You land in a building, people are going to start throwing frag grenades, C4, rocket launchers.
I will say, like, one thing it took a bit of a learning curve, right? I think, like, I don't know what the term is in gaming terms, but, you know, like in martial arts and stuff, there's such a thing as like fight IQ, right? But the battle IQ, let's just say the gaming IQ required within a Battlefield is actually quite a lot more than something like a Call of Duty, I find, because you're having to be aware of these macro things like the physics, and okay, they could blow this up, or there's a choke point here, or this can be, or something could be flying above me. So your situational awareness and your kind of understanding and study of the map is quite different to like a Call of Duty where you game certain things in a way you can't in this, which is at first is a bit daunting and can be hard on you, but once you kind of overcome it and learn and strategize and you think a little bit sharper, it's super rewarding. Like, really.
Well, if you think of COD maps are based on the 3-lane system, right? You have the left lane, the right lane, and the mid lane, and people are funneled through these lanes, and that's the way their maps are set up. Battlefield, there is no lane. It's you drop, and then you just go left, right. You go wherever. There's no prediction.
I'm sure there's a certain strategy, but I don't think the strategy is nearly as simplistic as Call of Duty's.
But it's like, in Call of Duty, there was the ones that you could get the nuke as like your kill streak or whatever.
Yes.
I remember like multiple times I got the nuke, was actually just sitting on top of like a building and camping there.
Yep.
And the enemy team would be so annoyed, kept killing them. They'd just come one after the other. They'd keep trying to take me out. They'd throw grenades, but I'd manage to avoid them. And as they're coming up the stairs, I would, it's just funny because I literally couldn't do that in Battlefield. They literally would blow the shit out of me. So it's really funny. It's like a whole different...
No, I remember those days vividly. By the way, I was talking to Eric, the producer, and he says, Nib got you. I said, if I'm 90 years old and I passed away, I would be 25 minutes late to my own funeral if I was hanging out with Nib. They'd be like, I thought you died. Well, I did, but Nib got me.
And then Nib started having a conversation.
Nib was like, not yet. Not yet, Mooch.
Not yet.
So I want to say thanks to you guys. You guys are phenomenal. You guys kept the show alive for me. You guys are all fantastic. Thanks to the great chat, by the way. Thanks for all the super chats. Really means the world to me that you guys were all here. Shout out to the great game Logic. I appreciate Logic. I apologize. The last segment was on Battlefield 6, and you were like, I have no interest at all in that game at all. But shout out to Gamer Logic as well. He's got us muted. He probably ordered food. I don't blame him. I'm starving myself. Nib, let people know where they can find you. Not on PS5 playing Ghost of Yotei, but
I am right now.
Somewhere else. Where else can they find you?
Before I give my details, Impatient Fire, DM me or because I really want to see a match with you, Death Singer stream, just so I could forever bring it up. Okay, so we need to make that happen. It would be so funny. It would be like. Super expensive.
I think Impatient.
I'm so superior.
I think Impatient Fire follows me over on. I think we're friends on PlayStation Impatient. Let me know if we are or we're not. I'll make sure you guys all. I'll make sure you guys all connect.
The thing is, like you also have to catch me at the right time because I have.
Oh my god! A excuse after excuse now.
No. No, you have to understand. I have a rotation. I play World of Tanks.
Oh, this guy.
Then I play League of Legends. Then I play
Not on a Sunday. I get achy shoulders. And on a Monday, I haven't had my breakfast.
The reason is I have to do my dailies on World of Tanks, and then I need to play a match in League to maintain my rank. Otherwise, it depreciates. So I have to do that. Then I'll play some Battlefield. And the reason I do that is because a lot of Americans don't get off until, 11 my time.
11. It's
time.
About 11 o'clock. 11 your time, yes.
Yeah, so it's late in the night when most of the people I play multiplayer games with get on. So I'm there for hours no one's on. So I may as well just do something else. So
Death Singer heard me say that Nib takes an extra 20 minutes, and then Death Singer was like, hold my beer.
No, but he took an extra 20 minutes.
He took it to 20 minutes. He was like, and then on Sunday I have church, and then I can't go. That's I'm only kidding. I know.
But the button on my mouse is a bit sticky.
Yeah, I just ordered a new mouse and keyboard, so you'll have to wait a week.
Yeah, oh my god. Yeah. Coming out with all the excuses now, jeez.
Oh my god. Nib, let them know where they can find you. Otherwise, we'll just keep going until next Thursday.
Yeah, anyway, it's Twitter, X, just NIB95_.
Awesome, Nib. Great to have you, buddy. Great show. Death Singer, let them know where we can find you as well, buddy, and when you can play.
You can find me everywhere, and you can find me playing tomorrow, but late at night. But yeah, it's, obviously a great show. And,
it was a really good show.
Keep it real. And yeah, I will. And to all those people still in doubt, I will buy a PS5 if GTA 6 is 60 FPS.
Listen, I'm only holding.
How about this? If fire beats you in Battlefield, you have to buy a PS5.
Oh.
No, that's never happening.
I don't think he's going to take that bet, but that was a great idea.
No, that is a great idea, but that's never happening.
That's probably not happening. I got news for you. Listen, a lot of people that on X and maybe other shows are always like, they say, well, we're going to hold you to that. But I am praying that it's over 60 FPS. We want to get you on there. It'd be great to have you. Fantastic to have you over on.
If it is over 60 FPS, I'll be there with you all day one on GTA 6.
I'm telling you right now, that game's online is going to be my life for a while.
Oh yeah.
GTA 5 was mine for the longest. Like, I played that so much, and then I remember people hacked the game and they got like millions. And on Christmas Day, if you went on the server, they were dressed as Santa, stood in the middle of GTA Online, and you could go up to them, and for Christmas they'd give you like 100 million in-game currency. And that's how I afforded to buy all the cars and stuff initially in GTA Online. Because on Christmas, these guys were just sat there going, "Merry Christmas, here, have some money." It was hilarious.
Shout out to Space. He said, "Great." Space One. He says, "Great show, guys. I appreciate that, Space. Thank you." Logic, did we get you back? I apologize. We talked about a topic that you had no interest in at the very end.
No, I was on software mute and I forgot how to turn it off. No, actually, I was not interested. So most people don't know. 2019 to 2025, I was living that lifestyle that Destinger talked about, where I was playing Destiny 2, Call of Duty, just on that rotation, World of Tanks, World of Warships, and. No, I've been sitting here biting my nails like a drug addict who has, gone through rehab and trying to and then goes out drinking, right, with people who do drugs. So I've been trying to figure out like how to not get FOMO and want to jump back in. So no, I appreciate all the talk.
Always,
this
buddy.
Guy's treating it like a drug. No, keep me away.
Because Mooch and I played COD together a few times, and was grappling those guys. And I turn on my PS6 and I see Mooch there, and you talked about turning off crossplay. And what I used to do on Call of Duty was same thing. I would have it on PC, have it on PS5. I would play on PC. I would get on PS5. I would turn crossplay off, right, to boost my stats, right? Because I play with keyboard and mouse on PS5. So yeah, no, I'm trying to stay clean. So no, it's a good talk listening to you guys talk about it.
I appreciate you being here, Logic. Honestly, we'll get you back on in a few weeks if you're good for it. It'd be great to have you, buddy, because it was great talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
It was a pleasure having you, buddy. Great to have you back on. And I got to tell you, so I want to give a couple shout outs real quick. And, Mooch has to eat. I'm starving. My energy's low. But I got to say one thing. I got to say thanks to the guys that were here earlier. These guys were all fantastic as well. Shout out to the great Brap Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. You guys know him as Coach. That's Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. Go over and check out Brap. The Crap Gamer, shout out to Crap. He goes, Mooch, I got to go, but we'll do this again in a week or so. I said, great. _Crap Gamer and his Crap Gamer reviews over on YouTube. And shout out to Middle Aged Game Guy. It's Mag. Go over and check out at Middle Aged Game Guy over on X, and it's the Mag Show over on YouTube. So shout out to Mag and the great Eric Jackson. Man, Eric was so great. I miss him. He used to do a lot more podcasting back in the day. He kind of said, "Peace out, and good night. I'm gonna go out and enjoy games and not do all this podcasting stuff." But I got news for you. He hangs out with me. We game. We talk. I'll make sure we get Eric Jackson back on the show again. Eric's fantastic. So shout out to Eric Jackson as well. You guys are all fantastic. We'll be back next Thursday. Go over to twitch.tv. Me and James are going to be doing definitely some Warzone, some Battlefield. It's Mooch TV, M00CHTV. Drop the O's for zeros. And we'll see you guys next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Peace out and good night. Great show.
Peace. Catch you guys on Battlefield then.